Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
85% of the world's working. The other 15 come out here.
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. That's not true. So get your facts straight.
What else do you want to know?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. We sucked.
We talking about practice.
If you call me Chris Everett to my face one more time,
Chris?
What's my opinion of Kingler's performance? What the you think is my opinion of it?
This is the Dan Dakich Show on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
What is up, Indianapolis? And welcome to the Dan Dakich Show. Jimmy Cook in for the Coach Double D on a Friday. A rainy Friday at that, but still a Friday all the same, which means you have survived. You've made it through the shortened holiday week after the 4th of July, which deserves some praise in its own right. That's one of those weird weeks where you keep thinking, what day is it actually today? And I am here to happily inform you, it is indeed Friday. And happy to be in for the coach on a Friday here on the Dan Dakich Show. A lot to get to throughout the day today. We're going to take you out to Las Vegas, talk a little NBA Summer League with my guy, Beau Estes of NBA.com's Top 10, and as well on NBA TV to get his thoughts on the Summer League setup out there. All 30 teams having their rookie and young pros from the last couple years on their rosters, including your Indiana Pacers, who get started this evening. A lot of rumors around the Pacers, that chase for DeAndre Ayton. If you're able to access a betting market where you can place money on that happening, the last couple of shows I've been in, crazy things have gone down. So that's not to say I know anything, because in that regard, I have not heard anything. I don't know anything on the front of if Ayton is getting signed to an offer sheet or being acquired in a sign and trade, or if the Pacers are getting into a 3-team deal or anything like that. I don't know. But the last time I was here, USC and UCLA decided to jump ship to the Big Ten, and Kevin Durant asked out for a trade from Brooklyn, which we, albeit ironically, successfully predicted earlier in that very show. So we're going to talk plenty on that. We'll also talk to where Notre Dame lies with all these conference realignments. There are a few better in college football, particularly that cover the Irish, than Tom Noie of the South Bend Tribune. He's going to join us around 1 o'clock. Bottom of the 1 o'clock hour, Tony East stops by of Forbes and WTHR, as well as Locked On Pacers, to give his thoughts on the Pacers bringing in Jalen Smith, or re-signing him, I should say, and giving him that role as the starting power forward for the Indiana Pacers next year. Where else do they have to build this roster? What is the goal currently for the Indiana Pacers while they're in this weird kind of purgatory, if you will, of a rebuild / just trying to get competitive again? They're not really trying to tank. I mean, that's clear in terms of the moves they're making right now. Their goal is to not tank next year and be back in a high draft situation again. But I will say, and if you haven't looked up this guy, there's no way he's going to end up in Indiana, because that's just not how things work out for the Pacers. But Victor Wembanyama is a French basketball player that is at the top of a lot of draft prospect sheets. And I understand it's overseas ball, but overseas ball saying that isn't a knock really anymore the last 4 or 5 years. Obviously, the NBA is the best in the world, right? But these are still high-quality basketball players across the pond. And Victor Wembanyama is going to be a name that pops into your radar for the next 12 months, because he's, at least at this point, projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. If it was me and just seeing him, like, I hate to do comparisons, but I give you comparisons as a frame of reference. He has the length and wingspan of a Giannis or a Kevin Durant, with that same height, that same quickness and get up with the dribble. Can affect shots on defense. His closeout range, in terms of having a smaller guard on him to still affect and block a shot, is absolutely nuts. Again, I'm mentioning this player because I wish the Pacers would tank, because I want those ping pong balls. I do. I'm sorry. I'm willing to sacrifice another season if it means getting another young stud or young piece in here for the Pacers. But again, just because you tank doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the top spot. It's all about those ping pong balls. So my thought right now, if I'm controlling the Pacers, is next year, this season, rather, looking at these young pieces, whether that is DeAndre Ayton or not, which that would kind of shift things. If you get Ayton, I mean, he's a top-tier commodity and an upgrade for this team. So if you're bringing him in, it's hard for me not to say the Pacers are playing for a playoff spot next year. Like that to me is not a win now move, right? Because this isn't a roster that's winning right now. But that is a move that is trying to fast-track your rebuild if you're bringing in DeAndre Ayton. So assuming that does not happen, if I was the Pacers and they're not keeping DeAndre Ayton, I just want to see how this core works of Halliburton, of Mathurin, and of Myles Turner in this particular situation, and going from there, hoping that some ping pong balls are acquired. But if you really wanted to fast track the idea of ping pong balls, not the rebuild, but just getting more ping pong balls for the lottery, you should have shipped Myles Turner off last week. I mean, that's where things are right now. If you're looking to obtain better odds or more assets for next year's draft, then that's the move you should be making. So we'll talk to Tony about that, where his mindset is in regards to the Pacers structure. And again, that's not what the Pacers are doing. As much fun as it would be to have Victor Wembanyama in Indiana next year, there is not a situation in my mind where the Pacers are intentionally trying to tank. Things would have to go wrong for this team to not be an improved addition from last year. So we'll see how everything shakes up on that front and get Tony's thoughts. Bottom of the 2 o'clock hour, the head coach of the Indy Greyhounds men's basketball program, the great Paul Corsaro, is going to join us. They got a camp coming up, an elite camp coming up for players at the high school ranks that are trying to continue to build their resumes for collegiate offers, and also looking at where he has the program headed for his third season at the helm of the Greyhounds. Paul, a good buddy of mine, you hear guest hosts say that all the time. Whenever you are in the chair, you like to, spread a little bit of your influence on the show. Figure we give Coach Corsaro a little bit of love at the bottom of the 2 o'clock hour. We have bets for you as well. I'll have my plays of the day mixed in at the end of the show. And coming up here in about 23 minutes, Jason Hammer, a regular on Fridays of Hammer and Nigel on WIBC, going to stop by to take us through his betting ideals for this weekend and whether or not he's playing anything across the pond in Wimbledon, as currently Djokovic is leading. It's tied 1-1, I guess, but he's on the verge of closing
2-1.
out. 2-1 is 2-1 now. Okay, went to replay before I saw that. So 2-1. Thank you, producer Eddie Garrison, behind the ones and twos. We'll get Eddie thoughts on everything as well. But the first thing, a very important announcement, and Dan's not here to bestow this crown. I know he'll get to it on Monday, but I'm going to take the cowl, if you will, and do that. Darius Leonard, ranked number 1 in the NFL in the linebacker slot by ESPN, a poll conducted by NFL executives, coaches, players, and scouts that evaluated the best player at each position. Darius Leonard heads that list. He finished 4th in the similar listings a year ago, and he is now listed as the top linebacker in the game. Look, there's a lot of things that people want out of your linebacking core. You would like, ideally, for them to be able to be solid in coverage, to make tackles and game-changing tackles when you need them, to force turnovers. And however you want to rank Darius Leonard in terms of where he does each one of those best, the biggest one that's on his game-changing ability is the ability to force those turnovers. Most notably, I guess you could attribute it to him now as his signature move, the old peanut punch of forcing turnovers and punching the football out. A lot of game-changing moments present for Darius Leonard. And look, I mean, it's all fluff, right? At the end of the day, like this doesn't mean anything. And if you ask Darius Leonard right now how he feels about it, I mean, maybe he would go the route of, I appreciate the respect that I'm getting. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You are receiving these commentaries from coaches, players, executives. That's great, and ESPN reporting on it. But at the end of the day, the bigger goal set in mind for this franchise in the Indianapolis Colts is getting back not only to the playoffs, but getting back to the top of your division. Because if you are mapping out the path you want to be on to try to capture a Lombardi trophy, which I've made very clear, I think this Colts team is not in that ballpark right now. Yeah, I know you want a lottery ticket, right? You get into the dance with a playoff spot. Anything can happen. For the most part, in the NFL, more often than not, you see the dominant team get through. Now, wild cards are always, they are that. They're a wild card, right? Sometimes you have big, crazy runs from teams that are playing on wild card weekend. And that happens, and that's more of a commonplace now because of the playoff expansions that have occurred over the last couple of years. So I'm not saying that it's out of the realm of possibility, but in terms of where I project this roster at a year from now, and I think most Colts fans would agree with this, this is not a Super Bowl caliber roster, and that's not where you should set the bar for this team. I mean you as a fan base. I'm not saying that you don't want your team to have in the locker room a list of goals, and one of them should be on there, win the Lombardi Trophy. I'm sure somewhere down south in Houston, there's a poor sap in the Texans locker room that has win the Lombardi Trophy on the goals list for the 2022 season. I got to tell you, that goal's not happening. It's just not for that young fella, whoever that is.
I would insert here and say I would disagree.
For Houston.
Oh, well, correct.
That was my point there. I wasn't saying there's a Colts. I'm saying for Houston, the larger point of that, and I want to go to you in a second, but just to clarify, my larger point was you can say, man, I hope that my players in Indianapolis have on a goal sheet win the Super Bowl, but I guarantee you there's somebody that has the same thing in Houston. It's different levels of where you are, different tiers of where you are for that goal being actually obtainable.
There might be some words after that and says in 10 years.
There you go. It's a good point. Now, if that's on the sheet, that's a different story. My thought is, though, that is just a goal list specifically for the 2022 season. Everybody wants to win a championship. Everybody wants to be a part of history.
You think Houston's goal is win 5 games?
Be better than you were a year before. Is all that sheet. That it's a play like a champion today sign in the Texans locker room that says be better than last year, and they hit it before heading out to the field. On the Colts side of things, though, things aren't that dire, right? Like, you look at the hype around a Colts roster going into a season, primarily at the most important position in the game, and I would argue this is the most optimistic that Colts fans should be feeling heading into a training camp since Andrew Luck walked out the door. I had a little bit of bias in that because having grown up a fan of the Chiefs and having grown up watching the AFC West on a weekly basis, Phillip Rivers tired me, right? You're going to have that if you have a highly competitive division, just like Bears fans that can't stand Aaron Rodgers, even though, I mean, Rodgers and Rivers are in different categories, but you get my point. There's a reason that Jets fans don't really like Tom Brady, or Bills fans don't really like Tom Brady. Heck, a lot of people don't really like Tom Brady. I don't have to preach that to Colts fans. But the major point of all that is you still have a sense of optimism with each quarterback that comes in, or pessimism based on what you've seen from them over the course of their career. And Phillip Rivers, at the end of the day, fair or unfair, and I get it, it's unfair, but that's the nature of the beast. What we all felt like, or at least what I felt like would happen, happened, in that he is not going to be able to elevate you to a point where you're going to win a game consistently, an important magnitude game late. Did he play better than he ever did in his career in terms of moments like that and taking care of the football? Absolutely. It was a success in terms of what you brought Rivers over for. But those thoughts were still in your head. With Matt Ryan coming in to start training camp here in a couple weeks and then to roll through the regular season for the Colts, there's not a ton of baggage on him right now. The biggest knock, which is the same knock that occurred with Phillip Rivers, is to do the statue. Can't really move. But you look at his last 2 or 3 seasons, and you look at the struggles that his teams had, and look at the struggles that he had. They can easily be identified by a couple different areas of weakness that were present on those Falcons roster. Poor offensive line, lack of weapons, no running game. Majority of Matt Ryan's turnovers last year were because of like strip sacks and fumbles. And that is easily obtainable to either a lack of pass protection or a lack of options to throw the ball to if you're getting blitzed. And in theory, that should, for the most part, be of those three objectives or of those three pieces that need to be in play for Matt Ryan to be at his best. You can make the case, easily make the case the Colts have all three, but if you want me to be a little bit more, examine it a little bit more closely, they have two of the three at minimum. Because I would argue that you still have question marks in terms of your pass catching game, only because you need to see how they utilize Nyheim Hines. Hines is the key to that being three boxes checked for what the Colts need to have for a successful season for Matt Ryan. I do believe in the offensive line. There's still some question marks and issues of need there, but I do believe in the Colts offensive line to protect Matt Ryan better than he has in the last 4 years of his career. And the Colts happen to have the best running back in the National Football League in their backfield. So instantly, 2 gold stars for what you need for Matt Ryan to have success for the Indianapolis Colts. And that last one in terms of receivers, Paris Campbell going to be healthy. Michael Pittman Jr., I do expect another big leap from. Maybe I'm a little bullish on Pittman, but I think he has... I would ballpark him at and I don't have the number in front of me where he finished last year, so Eddie, you can correct me on this.
I was about to tell you.
Okay, what did he do last year?
He had 88 receptions and just under 1,100 yards.
Is that on ESPN or is that on NFL?
That is on Pro Football Reference.
Do they rank that?
Let me find it. No. Because
to me, I think across the board you have top 10 campaign for Michael Pittman Jr. this year. I genuinely think that happens. Because of the growth and improvement you're going to see from him, and you add in a more competent quarterback with the massive upgrade from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. That and your ability to finally utilize Nyheim Hines in such a way that I wasn't mad they paid him that money, but I expected with that contract for him to be utilized more, and it just didn't happen last year.
He was 18th in terms of total receiving yards, but when you look at the difference between 10th and 18th, it was only 80 yards.
Okay. So then it's a safe bet then for me.
I would say so, considering the quarterback play of last year. There were times where Pittman was literally wide open, and there was social distancing between him and the cornerback.
Well done. Very topical.
But the quarterback couldn't get him the ball, or didn't get him the ball.
Yeah. And that's why you make the upgrade you did. And that's why there was panic on 56th Street post-Jaguars loss. That change needed to be made. That change in the form of Matt Ryan needs complementary pieces around him, and the Colts provide him with that. And that's why I say, back to the whole Darius Leonard is the number one linebacker in the NFL type of thing. If you're a Colts fan, there are many Colts fans that feel very confident in that statement. And I'm not going to haggle with you that much on it, particularly if you're saying the ability to change a game at that position. No doubt my line, Darius Leonard is either at or near the top. But the only thing that matters to this fan base, because of how successful the 20 years prior to Andrew Luck's departure was, is we want to be back at the top of the division and be in the championship conversation. That's all it is. But you can't set the bar on this team at championship or bust unless you are just flat out trying to have disappointment in the NFL season. I'm not saying don't have goals if you're a fan of this team, but your goals are not the same as the Buffalo Bills. No team's going to say that. Frank Reich's one of the most optimistic coaches in professional football. Like, yes, he's going to tell you our goal is to be out there and win a championship. Like, yeah, that's everybody's goal. But that goes back to my joke about the Texans. Like, yeah, everybody wants that, but only so few can actually obtain that.
It's the goal, Jimmy, to host the first of 2 Lombardis.
Got to keep on pace for those 2 Lombardis. So, I've lived this, right? I've lived this transitional stretch that the Colts are in, because I understand that my team has one of the best quarterbacks in professional football in Patrick Mahomes. But I also know that the long list of Trent Greens, no disrespect to my alma mater, the great IU legend Trent Green, but Trent Greens and Elvis Gerbachs and David Hewards and a lot of names you don't care about, Matt Castle. Like, I've been through this stretch of different quarterback every year as a fan. I get what you're going through. But the closest thing that the Kansas City ever had prior to the Mahomes era was Alex Smith in terms of where the Colts have Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers. The Carson Wentz year I would liken more to Castle, even though Wentz is a better quarterback than Castle. Castle's awful. But
I'd like to ask you this, though.
Sure.
Was the roster around those quarterbacks as equally talented as the roster that's been put around, for the Indianapolis Colts, when you look back at the quarterback last couple seasons between Luck, Rivers, Brissett, and then Wentz?
Has the roster been equal for each of these Colts rosters?
Like, if you're comparing rosters outside of quarterback to the Chief days when you went through all those quarterbacks that you went through, which roster is better? Because I think that's where the difference in these two comparisons could be, is that the Colts roster, at least to me, based off of my, little knowledge of those teams, is that the Colts roster was better, and that's the more frustrating part about it, is that they have been, the quarterback away from making that leap to a possible Lombardi run.
So, from a offensive perspective, and I'll carry this to my grave, and it's not something that's a falsehood, because I keep looking at what Jonathan Taylor's doing on a weekly basis. And when Eddie and I were operating the Way Too Early pregame show, the Colts pregame show, early mornings here on The Fan, potentially pour one out there for the Way Too Early pregame show, I kept looking at yards per carry for Jonathan Taylor and where that metric was at and how he's putting up these crazy numbers in terms of career averages for yards per carry. Do you know who the leader in yards per carry? I do, Eddie. I'm asking you straight up without looking up. Do you know who the career leader is in yards per carry at the running back position?
I'm going to assume he's a Kansas City Chief.
He is a Kansas City Chief, and it would be one Jamal Charles.
Yeah.
One of the most dynamic running backs of the 2010s. And I mean, I'm not going to go through because I don't want to bore the listeners on this, but Dante Hall, Dwayne Bowe, Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce was in the mix. I mean, yes, they've had pieces. I would have to really remember and dive back into how the defenses shook up, but the offenses were just as good, if not better in some areas. So I get what you're saying, but it always would have felt like to me, if you had the right guy, you would compete. But also the one thing you have to look at, and this is the boat the Colts are in right now, and maybe this is just a my generation thing, and if you want to operate on the YouTube chat and let me know through this, it feels like this year going into the season more so than the past 4 or 5 years, like since this I guess not post Brady because he's still playing, but post Manning, post Breeze, now post Roethlisberger era, there are a lot of high-quality quarterbacks in the National Football League right now. Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. I'll still throw Russell Wilson in there, even though I don't know if he's going to get back to where he was.
Derek Carr, yes. The Prince of Darkness deserves some love in there as well. There are top-tier quarterbacks up and down. Tom Brady, they're still Tom Brady, which is just a testament to who he is. There are top quarterbacks everywhere around the league, to the point that if you just want a seat at the table right now,
to try and contend for a Lombardi trophy. Hell, even for the Colts a little bit, to be able to contend for a divisional title. You have to have the rest of your roster at such a level, plus a top 10 quarterback under center. Like, we talked about this last year while Colts fans were very high on optimism that, hey, we might make some noise, get to the playoffs, look how great things are going. And I talked about it then, and it's the same then as it was now. You look at the teams the last 20 years that have won the Super Bowl, and yes, it is a team game. It is not just one guy, but one guy under center makes all of the difference because he instantly erases flaws that you have on the rest of your roster. Having a top 10 or top 15 quarterback under center is the air mark of a Super Bowl champion team. You just look at the last 20 years, and for every Joe Flacco or Trent Dilfer that you find, there's going to be a Tom Brady or a Ben Roethlisberger or a Peyton Manning or an Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady again and Tom Brady again. And it's just there. It's always there. Is Matt Ryan that? He has been in his career. Can he get back there? I don't think he can be as good as Rodgers or Mahomes or Herbert, but he can be in that conversation at the next tier, which if you're a Colts fan, you look at the accuracy issues and just the ability to take care of the football. Those are all things that Matt Ryan does well and improves over from what you had under center a year ago. So I think you should be optimistic about where things are headed. And I know we're itching for the training camp to start and all the chatter from everybody to end and just get on the field and play the games. But heading into this season, at a minimum, Colts fans should be expecting this team to win the AFC South, host a playoff game, and hopefully win said home playoff game. That's where your bar should be. Am I saying if you don't hit that to start swinging an axe and chopping heads off? No. But I do think if you fall well short of those expectations, after seeing the way that Jim Irsay, who often does not, at least in my mind, share that kind of frustration about in-house problems or in-house struggles in regards to Frank Reich and Chris Ballard, I don't think he tolerates another low expectation season, barring injuries and barring something that, affects the state of this team's ability to win games, like a injury to Matt Ryan or Jonathan Taylor or something like that. Knock on wood. We don't want anything like that to happen. Those are just the examples I'm mentioning. But that is what should give you at least confidence in the direction of the Colts, because say what you will, whatever you want about Jim Irsay, in terms of willingness to go spend and improve the team year over year, he will do that loyally for this team, which is the absolute key to being competitive in the National Football League in terms of what you expect from your front office and what you expect from ownership, which should, in theory, allow you to take that leap this year based on the changes you made, bringing in Matt Ryan and company. We'll talk a little bit more on the Colts as the day goes on, but coming up next, Jason Hammer of WIBC's Hammer and Nigel going to join us. We'll get some bets from him, see his thoughts. I want to see if he agrees with me that in terms of optimism, this is the best scenario the Colts have had post Andrew Luck and where his expectations are for the Colts with training camp around the corner. Tom Noie at 1, Tony East at 1:30, Beau Estes of NBA.com at 2, Paul Corsaro, head coach of the U Indy Greyhounds men's basketball program at 2:30. But next, Jason Hammer joins us on the Dan Dakich Show. Jimmy Cook in for the coach, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Here's what's happening with The Fan. Summer is here, and the Ride with JMB is ready to come hang out at your house for a backyard broadcast.
Brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, Connecticut Home Water Systems, Ford's Garage, and New Belgium Brewery. Head to 1075thefan.com to register for your chance to have JMV do his show live from your backyard on July 15th. Bring your friends. We've got the rest.
For more info, click on 1075thefan.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? Quality oil like Valvoline Full Synthetic can help you get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99. Got an older vehicle? Try Valvoline Full Synthetic High Mileage options. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Listen to The Ride with JMV this week between 3 and 6 p.m. as he'll give away tickets to see the Black Keys at Ruoff Music Center, Saturday, July 16th.
The Ride with JMV.
Line 2's
Yes, Kuiper the rapper.
Oh, Kuiper. Tic-tac-toe?
Yes, sir.
That's you.
Let me bless you guys with a little quick verse before I go.
Do it.
My dad got up because he heard something knocking, thought it was a quick me, and he was rocket. Into my room, opened up the door. He said, "Son, what you doing playing tic-tac-toe? That's it. And that's no. That's it. Well, maybe so.
That's awesome.
Tic-tac-toe. IJ, I'm out.
Dude, that's awesome.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 till 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
It's the Dan Dakich Show. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, you hear that music, you either know it's Shane McMahon headed ringside or that one of the biggest degenerates in the state of Indiana is joining us. And I don't say that in jest. I say that because the man hits on those degenerate specials. But before we get into that, I need to be jealous for a second, even though I was just there a couple weeks ago. I need the audience to be jealous because it is mucky, it's raining, it is just sad in the Circle City right now, weather-wise. But one Jason Hammer of Hammer and Nigel WIBC is in the Sunshine State. Make me jealous for a second, Hammer, please. I need something.
So I am sitting on Madeira Beach, which is just, right next to St. Pete. It's about 85 right now, a little overcast. It looks like there could be a little bit of rain moving in, but I hear the ocean waves coming in. And let me just say this about the beach, and I've said this for a long time. There's a lot of people, like myself, who may be a little big, a little doughy, you're a little self-conscious about your body. But here's what's great about the beach. There's always somebody fatter. It doesn't matter how much you weigh or if you've got so much body hair that you look like former wrestling legend George the Animal Steele. I promise you, there's somebody hairier, somebody fatter, someone way more gross at the beach. So at this point, just take off the shirt, hell, take off the pants and give the people what they want.
There's always a bigger fish at the end of the day. I mean, that's your truer words are never spoken. So I take that same. I've never thought of it that way, but I do take that same mentality. And you know what? Maybe I have a couple extra pounds on me, but whatever. There's other people that are in that same boat, if not more. So I'm gonna have a good time.
And maybe it's an age thing too, because I'm at the age now. I'm not old, but I'm not young. I'm 44, but I'm at the age where I just don't care. I really don't. I am not here to impress somebody. I work a lot through the week. There's a lot of stress. I'm coaching baseball games. I want to come down here, and I want to be the shirtless guy at the beach. And, again, no reason to feel self-conscious because this is a true story. Not even 15 minutes ago, there was, this French dude with his wife walking up and down the beach, kind of looked like one of those Borat-style European Speedos, and my man had no shame, so good for him.
You never know what you're going to see in Florida, and the only thing that can make that better, which is a good segue for us, and I think about this every time I've been at the beach the last 2 years. Maybe that means I have a problem. I don't know. But boy, do I wish I'd get some mobile bets in while on the beach in the great state of Florida whenever on vacation, because if they get that puppy across, then to quote the coach Dan Dakich, our toes are tapping, Hammer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a little chat with DeSantis about this because of all the things that Florida has to offer, and they offer a lot. And I love what some of the things the governor has done in Florida, but this is one where he's dropping the ball on. They screwed this up from the beginning, sports betting in Florida, to where they tried to make it just a certain casino where you had to physically walk in, and no, nobody wants to do that. And that was overtly taken down by the Florida State House. So, yeah, this is the one area where DeSantis needs to pick it up just a little bit, because there are some plays tonight that I'm interested in, but unfortunately, I can't get in the mix right now.
Well, I want to shift to those plays in just a second. And again, I know I mentioned at the top, but appreciate you taking time to share those plays with the listeners and making time while you're out enjoying the beach today. But the first thing I want to ask you is something I talked about to open the show, and I haven't got a chance to talk to you about this directly. In regards to the Colts for having Matt Ryan under center this season, is this the most optimistic in terms of that position and the success it can translate to that you've been to post-Luck?
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. The one thing that I've liked that I've seen from Andrew Luck this offseason, from Matt Ryan this offseason, was if you buy into all the reports, he's not afraid to get after you a little bit, get in your ass a little bit. There's some stories about Matt Ryan at some of these, camps over the summer getting after dudes a little bit. That's something I think that has been missing from the quarterback position since Andrew Luck. And I'm not saying that Andrew Luck was a big yeller and screamer, but clearly he was one of the guys that led that locker room. You had Reggie Wayne, yes, you had some other guys, but when your quarterback is invested in, it's just different. It hits different that way. Carson Wentz, he came here, he wanted to be buddies with everybody, didn't want to ruffle any feathers. All right, fine. Phillip Rivers was basically had one foot into the retirement grave, wanted to have fun, wanted to win. He's a fiery dude once the game starts, but I don't know how much leadership and ownership he took of this franchise. It sounds like this is a Matt Ryan that's got something to prove. The Falcons basically said, we're rebuilding, we're giving up on you, and Matt Ryan feels like he's still got some good ball left. He doesn't want this to be just his only year in Indianapolis. He wants to keep this thing rolling a little bit, and I like the fact that he's kind of got after some dudes in the offseason. So, yes, to answer your question, absolutely. I think this is the most optimistic Colts fans have been in a while, and on top of that, it's a winnable division, too.
And to your point on that, and I know it's a big name to throw around, and maybe some of it's done for headlines because Colts fans and any fan base would click on something about a legendary quarterback in their tenure, but anytime you see in terms of demeanor or leadership on the sidelines, particularly if it's somebody like Mike Chappell who's covered the team for so long that mentions it, when they instill Peyton Manning vibes, not as the player in terms of on-the-field production, but in terms of just the leadership ability and not afraid to go after guys like you mentioned. I mean, that's all you can ask for in terms of where this franchise wants to go.
Right, and you've seen the track record of Matt Ryan. It's not going to be an issue of him preparing for games, right? That was kind of the thing that separated Peyton from everybody else. The amount of film that he would watch, the way he was a student of the game, even later in his career, still learning different aspects of the game. There's a lot of that in Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan's not Peyton Manning. Let's not get it twisted. But if you're the Colts, this is the best you could do. And it's not that bad at all. Like, you look at around the league, some of the quarterbacks that switch teams in the offseason, is Matt Ryan right now that much further behind than Russell Wilson? Like, not Russell Wilson prime, but Russell Wilson right now. Is Matt Ryan that far behind him? I really don't think that he is.
No, I would agree with you because I have question marks in regards to, is Russell Wilson... Because when you compare the two, right, I was talking about this earlier, Matt Ryan, a lack of weapons, a lack of high-quality running game, a lack of protection on the offensive line. Seahawks' offensive line a little bit better than Atlanta's, but you look at who Russell Wilson's throwing to the last 3 seasons over that same stretch compared to Ryan, it's DK Metcalf and it's Tyler Lockett. Like, it is game-changing guys. You go to Denver, I mean, they still have that in terms of weapons out there at receiver, but Wilson struggled with those type of additions to make him better. Matt Ryan hasn't had those type of complementary pieces in quite some time. No, I agree with you, Hammer. I expect him to have a better season, Matt Ryan, by comparison to Russell Wilson come end of the year.
And on top of that, Matt Ryan is not being asked to be the savior of this franchise the way that Russell Wilson is.
Yep.
The expectations and the price tag that went along with Russell Wilson going to Denver were pretty big. Here, Jonathan Taylor is your franchise. There's no debate about it. It's not Darius Leonard. It's not Quentin Nelson. Your franchise is Jonathan Taylor. All you need, and we saw this last year, was a quarterback that's able to pick up the slack a little bit just when somebody else is down. You don't even need Matt Ryan to be on all the time. But on those games where the defense falls apart, like in the fourth quarter against Baltimore or pretty much the entire Jacksonville game, you need a guy that is good to pick everybody else up and get you some points on the board. Doesn't have to do that for 17 weeks, but has to do it when needed. I certainly think Matt Ryan can fall into that category.
Jason Hammer joining us of WIBC's Hammer and Nigel. You can hear him on our sister station from 3 until 7 on WIBC. Follow him on Twitter at Jason Allen Hammer. Hammer, a quick one for you. I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this, but you've been in the industry before, so I'm hopeful you can. I think if you're in Vegas, at least you could a couple years ago, you could place wagers on Summer League action. Is the reason you can't do that in the state, to your best guess, because the license isn't there in terms of those events being approved?
Combination of the licensing and, let's be honest, the bookmakers are not in the business of losing money.
Sure.
So with Summer League, you don't necessarily know what the lineup is going to be every single day. Kind of like spring training baseball. Not every spring training baseball game is available for you to bet on, but some are. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like spring training baseball, there are split squad games. You don't have the ability to bet on both of those. In many ways, man, the NBA Summer League is like that. Their odds makers are not going to put their hard-earned reputations and money on the line for a game that, you know, they don't know who's going to be playing. You know, is Chet Holmgren going to be in the lineup? Is he going to sit out? Do they want him to do this or that? There's just too many unknowns for the odds makers to put something out there. And anybody that wagers knows odds makers, they want the sure thing, or they want equal betting when they put that line out there. When there's equal betting, they're guaranteed to win.
I figured you know the answer to that, and that makes sense. I appreciate that. I do want to shift towards bets and wagers that you like across the sports world, either today or through the weekend.
All right, so yeah, again, I can't make the bets because I am in Florida right now. But looking at the sports betting app that I use, which is Bet Rivers, there's a couple things. Number one, since I'm in Florida, I looked at the Rays. Rays and Reds tonight. That is in Great American Ballpark. The over-under seems pretty low on that. And I know you look at the pitching matchup and you think, okay, well, that's about right. Summertime, Great American Ballpark, where there's a chance that the wind could be an issue today. I like the over in this one. Last time I checked, it was 7.5. I'm going to always go over if it's 7.5 at Great American Ballpark. So give me the over in that one. And, Jimmy, you know that I am not necessarily a parlay guy. I've always said parlay bets are sucker bets for the most part. But there's a little same gamer that I'm looking at tonight. The Dodgers and the Cubbies. It's in Los Angeles. It's a late-night game. So it's one of those games where if you've had your backside handed to you all day, if you've lost a few bets, this is the redemption game. Solid pitching matchup. Give me a little same-game parlay here. Dodgers money line and under 8.5. Thompson on the mound for the Cubs has not been horrible. And I believe it's Anderson on the mound for the Dodgers today. So this is a pretty good pitching matchup. Dodgers, I believe, have only lost one game the entire month of July. Not that it's that long, but still just one loss in July. I like the Dodgers to win. I like the total under. Same game parlay for that one.
Maybe it's just because I think the juice is going to be pretty high. I know this might not be your area of expertise, but I'm interested in maybe sprinkling a little bit on Nick Kyrgios in the Wimbledon final, assuming he plays Djokovic. Is that foolhardy, or do you think I could find some value there with Djokovic likely being the favorite in the Wimbledon final this weekend?
Yeah, man, I'm not betting against Djokovic.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Not.
I don't blame you.
I'm not going to do that. Now, if the juice is there, if you want to take a run at it, go ahead. Have a secondary bet, a tertiary bet, if you want to call it that, to go along with it. Something that you feel a little bit better at, to where even if your Hail Mary doesn't plan out, you can still get your money back with your other bet.
Well, Hammer, I appreciate you making time for us while on vacation, and even though you can't make that sweet, sweet cash via your Bet Rivers app, I hope that you're at least enjoying the weather lottery you've hit by comparison to what we're dealing with here today, enjoying the beach. Good, sir. I hope you have a good time.
Indy needs the rain. I know you're not happy about it, but boy, we needed the rain.
Yeah, Yeah, that's you talked about earlier in the segment about how you're at the age where, you see things more clearly. That is that type of comment, because me, the youngin' here, I'm like, what's the rain? But you're right. But much needed rain for the Circle City. No doubt about that.
My grass looks like hay at the Hammer compound.
I appreciate you, Hammer. Thank you, sir.
You got it, buddy.
That is Jason Hammer of Hammer and Nigel. Catch them 3 to 7 on WIBC. You can follow them on Twitter at Jason Allen Hammer. We are going to step away. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more about the start of NBA Summer League, as well as the optimism for the Colts heading into training camp here in just a couple of weeks. Top of this upcoming hour, the legendary Tom Noie of the South Bend Tribune going to give us the insights and observation on what conference realignment means for Notre Dame, and what Notre Dame waiting in the wings for their next decision means for college football. Jimmy Cook filling in for the coach on the Dan Dakich Show. Back in a flash on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
If you thought Diamonds Direct's values were impressive, wait till you see what we're doing next. Diamonds Direct is celebrating your golden moments with a store-wide sale, July 15th through 17th, with an extra 20% savings on virtually all diamond fashion and designer jewelry, from rings and earrings to bands and bracelets and so much more. This is the perfect time to shop for yourself or the one you love during this 3-day event. Get ready, 20% extra savings on a multi-million-dollar selection of fine jewelry, July 15th through 17th at Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com.
O'Reilly. This is Claudia's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
I had just moved to a new city and barely even knew where the grocery store was yet. When my car wouldn't start one morning, I didn't know who to ask about local shops. But I remembered a name from back home, O'Reilly Auto Parts. I called and they pointed me to a great mechanic just down the street. Now I feel a little more at home.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sometimes an injury or death happens due to someone else's mistake. Find justice with the injury attorneys at Parr Ritchie at 317-269-2509. PARRinjury.com.
The Yankees are in Boston to take on the Red Sox tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
So he's gonna rock it. Ain't never gonna stop. Gotta keep on rocking. Someday gonna make that to the top and be a jukebox hero. Got stars in his eyes.
It's the Dan Dakich Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Little jukebox hero, one-way ticket on a Friday here on the Dan Dakich Show. Jimmy Cook in for the coach. Thank you so much for spending part of your Friday with us. A rainy Friday here in the Circle City, but again, and I should have clarified that because I'm a homeowner. I understand. I know the grind of hoping that lawn is pristine. And yeah, Jason Hammer put it great last segment. It is hay in the front yard of the cookhouse, pretty much in the backyard, with how rainless this drought has been over the last week or so. So much needed rain. I'll tip my cap for that, even though it's summertime. I wish we had a little bit nicer weather, because it's been grueling heat. You haven't really had that happy medium of just enjoyable high-level weather, but that's the nature of the beast. In Indiana, we know how things roll. We talked a little bit earlier about the direction of the Colts right now, as well as the current direction of the Pacers. Well, I am going to come back to the Colts a little bit later in the show. I want to stress more so the Indiana Pacers, the Summer League, getting going for the Pacers later this evening. And I've been out there. I've worked Summer League. I've been involved with it. I know the way the hype operates and how easy it is to overreact whenever you have a situation for your star player or star rookie just having an impact moment. But as long as you understand as a fan that it's just Summer League, yes, you're going up against peers or players that are near your experience level, and it is still going to be a different animal and a different beast come October. As long as you're accepting that as a fan, overreact however you want to. I'm all here for it. Talk about how if Mathurin drops 35 and has like 3 dunks tonight against the Hornets, I want to hear you talking about how this is the piece of the draft. This is the player that should have been the number 1 overall pick. I want that type of just ridiculousness over the top from Pacers fans. Now, if you listen to me a couple weeks ago, you'll know that I'm in the boat that I think Mathurin could end up being one of, if not the best player in this draft based on his ceiling. But again, you got to let the games play out, right? You have to see how he develops, how things unfold. I'm not expecting a playoff appearance from the Pacers next year. I'm just not. That's not where my bar is. Now, if you go get DeAndre Ayton, if that happens, okay, then maybe you're in the legitimate conversation to make the playoffs. And I stressed this a week ago in this same scenario where the playoffs to me is not the play-in tournament. I'm talking about successfully securing a 6th seed or better prior to the play-in. And then if you survive the play-in tournament, great. Woo! Into the playoffs. Awesome. But the direction of this franchise, look, I'll contend, and I know the life isn't a video game and you can't just operate as a video game GM. But in the Pacers state, they have to continue to hit on draft picks and acquire players, for the most part, via trade, unless it's a restricted free agent situation like what's happening with DeAndre Ayton in Phoenix. We all know it. It's not a market where top-tier, high-end free agents are going to sign off the bat unless you've already constructed a roster that is built to compete for a championship. Pacers are in the process of hopefully doing that. But they're not there right now. And that is why, while I want to see the Pacers do something and I want to see them win, I know this is a work in progress. Pacers fans should know it is a work in progress. And for me, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show, but the real reason that you were offering up a starting role in my mind to Jalen Smith as your starting power forward next year is because of the discrepancy from what teams could offer Jalen Smith by comparison to what the Pacers could offer him. Because he had his offer sheet from the Suns decline, his third-year rookie offer sheet, because they didn't choose to renew that. Whichever team had him was strapped with a limit of about $4 million they could offer him in that first year, and then another limit to what they could offer him in year number 2. But only the team that possessed him on their roster. Everybody else was able to outbid the Pacers pretty easily. We talked about this after the draft when they selected Bennedict Mathurin, and it appeared, at least the way he was talking, that he wanted to be an Indiana Pacer. He wanted to be in Indiana. He was excited about being a part of this franchise. I don't know what he's going to pan out to. I think that Jalen Smith at his best can be quality starter to role player in terms of his career arc. Right now, it's clearly quality starter in terms of the Pacers already naming him as a starting forward. But my point is, you were setting up that guarantee from a player that committed to you over money. He chose the state of Indiana. He chose to come here. Now it's tough or chose to stay here. It is tough for the Pacers to be able to prove anything right now outside of Summer League because, well, the season just ended and we have about 3.5 months before they get to take the floor and show where this team is growing at and show what direction this franchise is headed. And you hope it's headed forward. But the idea of having a player that is still very young, that's a former top 10 pick in Jalen Smith, choose Indiana. I mean, think about that for a second. Think about a player that is still very much in their infancy in the league. I understand he's not right now. He is not in the same breath as your top, I don't know, 50 or so guys, maybe probably more so than that, in the league. But the idea that a player chose to stay here over money, it just does not happen very often in small markets. So automatically at the start of the season, I am on board with Jalen Smith because he's chosen to be a Pacer. He's chosen to be a part of this ride. And if it doesn't pan out, you're not paying him a ton of money. All you're doing is you're maybe back on a season in terms of where you could have been. But in terms of what you could add to be better than him, what's out there for that type of value? What's out there? It's not there. It's not there.
I have a little bit of a theory here.
Sure.
They named Jalen Smith the starter for the reasons that you just named.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the five, when you have Turner on the floor with Jalen Smith, what do both of these guys do? They stand in the corner and they shoot threes. So here's my next point where I'm going down this route.
Okay.
I do think DeAndre Ayton is the play here over Myles Turner because of what you can do with Jalen Smith. You can put him out on the wing, and he did show last year when he was with the Pacers to shoot high level from beyond the three-point line, 37%. Myles Turner is not a guy that's going to play back to the basket. That's not where he's going to belong. I don't think he fits in there. DeAndre Ayton does. He fits down inside at the post. He can shoot the mid-range. You saw that all postseason, coming off a career year in every statistical category for mid-range jump shots. You get it. So I think DeAndre Ayton fits a lot better next to Jalen Smith and with Tyrese Halliburton than Myles Turner. That's my theory here. I think there is legitimate interest between the Pacers and DeAndre Ayton. And I do think that once the trade is finalized tomorrow with Malcolm Brogdon going to Boston, I think the DeAndre Ayton news of him signing with Indiana will come to fruition. That's just my theory.
And if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, I'm thinking of Gordon Hayward, and I'm going to get the teams wrong or where he ended up. No, I'm not. The Cavaliers, I believe, made an offer sheet to Gordon Hayward when he was in Charlotte, and it was instantly matched by Charlotte. And that's like a gamesmanship move. You hear about it talked throughout the NBA whenever big restricted free agents are available, that maybe just to make the other team spend money, / you have interest in the guy, you give an offer sheet for him to sign. Because at that opportunity, the team can match it, but they have to match the value of the contract. Now, some teams just do that just out of spite, but some teams do it because there's actual interest there. And you're right, the elephant in the room is waiting for the league year to kick off that Brogdon trade to be finalized. And once that happens, it opens up the books for the Pacers to make their next move. And if you're in the DeAndre Ayton to Indy camp via signing him as a restricted free agent, that's your day for it to happen. There's not in my mind a let's wait 2 or 3 days to feel this out. It is this a guy we want? Let's go make an offer. Or maybe the rumors will be true. What does it mean that the Pacers are linked to 3-team trade deals? What does it all mean, Eddie?
All right, Brian Windhorst.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's going to happen, I agree with you that window officially opens and starts once that's off the books.
Because, there's got to be a reason. I know we have to also hit the break here really, really quick. So there's got to be a reason why there's no other teams that have been linked, or there hasn't been any, rumors circling about DeAndre Ayton. Because I think there is something there that hasn't been, leaked yet about him to Indiana.
Well, one person's going to help us with that is the bottom of next hour, Tony East. Got to go through all the variables at play and get his thoughts on where the Pacers stand. I'll let you in on that. That was a little Brian Windhorst by me. I might break that out for Tony since I don't think he's listening right now. I'll let the audience in on it. I might break that out for him when he's here just as a little shot and see if he gets the reference or thinks I'm being serious. But in the meantime, we're going to get the lowdown for what the future holds for Notre Dame based on all these conference realignments from Tom Noie of the South Bend Tribune. He joins us next. Stay right here. Jimmy Cook in for the coach on The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Hello there. Who's this?
This is Brittany.
What would you like to talk about, Brittany?
Oh, I don't know anything. I could have swore I was calling in for a contest.
What did you think you were calling in for, Brittany?
I thought I was calling in for Lollapalooza.
What station did you think you were listening to?
WGCI.
Oh, that's a Chicago station? This is one of the great calls we've had in really a couple of years right here.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 till 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hubler has it, savings. Hubler has it, choices.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all.
Hi, it's Terry Stacy here with your American Standard Race Day weather, brought to you by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your American Standard dealer in Danville. NASCAR heads back to Atlanta this Sunday for the Quaker State 400. A 60% chance of scattered thunderstorms on Sunday afternoon with a high of 86 degrees in Atlanta. This has been your American Standard Race Day weather, brought to you by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your trusted independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer in Danville.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? Quality oil like Valvoline Full Synthetic can help you get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99. Got an older vehicle? Try Valvoline Full Synthetic High Mileage options. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX. Indianapolis. Yankees, Red Sox. Sunday night baseball. The coverage begins at 6 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
People always told me, be careful what you do. Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts. Mother always told me, be careful who you love. Be careful what you do. After the lie becomes the truth. The bitter change, not my love.
It's the Dan Dakich Show. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Dan Dakich Show. Jimmy Cook in for the coach, Double D. Happy Friday to you all. Over the last couple of days, weeks, you've had to buckle your seatbelt. Make sure you're strapped in. Tray tables in that full upright and locked position, because there have been some crazy, crazy flights, at least metaphorical ones, of course, for a number of different schools and programs across the country. Most notably, the last time I was in the big chair, saw USC and UCLA head to the Big Ten. Now, for those of you that don't know, another top school in the state in Notre Dame, one of their biggest rivals, USC, now part of the Big Ten. A lot of Notre Dame's most famous rivals over there in the Big Ten. And so I welcome in the man that knows more about Notre Dame athletics and Notre Dame football than I could ever hope to dream of. The man, the myth, the extraordinary writer himself. It's Tom Noie of the South Bend Tribune. Tom, what does it all mean for Notre Dame?
Jimmy, you started the segment by talking about keeping your seatbelts on. This is like the plane has landed, and what's the first thing you do once the plane hits the tarmac and it's on its way to the gate? You take your seatbelt off and let it fall to your side. That is not happening in this case, because even though USC, UCLA, seismic shift, all this other stuff that happened last week, this isn't going to end anytime soon. And it's not like when USC and UCLA jumped from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten on Thursday, Notre Dame wasn't going to have an announcement on Friday morning or Monday morning, and now here we are the following Friday afternoon. This is going to be a long-term type of game for Notre Dame, and where it goes is anybody's guess.
To continue this airplane analogy, though, and to say where I'm at, athletic director Jack Swarbrick is the flight attendant, reminding me the seatbelt sign is still on. Notre Dame is still an independent. I need to use the bathroom, Tom. I've been waiting for an hour. I don't want to wait another 5 hours on this flight, but it sounds like from where you see things at, that is indeed the reminder I'm going to need, is to keep that seatbelt fastened, because Notre Dame has, I guess I should ask you that. Notre Dame believes they do, but do you think they actually do still have most of the cards as things stand, so long as they have a seat at that playoff table?
Absolutely. And the operative sentence in that, what you just said, is a seat at the playoff table. Like when you see UCLA and USC jump from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, you're like, oh my God, oh, here it is. The college athletics as we know it, it's ending. It's all about this and it's all about that. Notre Dame has to join the Big Ten. It has to do it right now to preserve its path to the college football. The one aspect that nobody knows right now is what Notre Dame's avenue back into the college football playoff is going to be when the current format ends. Are they going to have a path? If they do, if let's say it's really going to be the Big Ten and the SEC, two super conferences, and if there's a 12-team playoff, but SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey goes to Jack Swarbrick. Jack Swarbrick and Greg Sankey are very good friends, working on situations such as the college football playoff. If Greg Sankey goes to Jack Swarbrick and says, look, it's going to be a 12-team playoff, they're going to take 4 teams from the Big Ten, they're going to take 4 teams from the SEC, but I guarantee you, if you're 10-2 or 11-1 or even 12-0, Notre Dame will have a path to the playoff, even though we have these 2 big mega conferences. Jack Swarbrick says, Greg, thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll remain independent.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a Notre Dame fan or if you are working with Notre Dame, whatever the case may be, you like Notre Dame football in some capacity if you're in that camp. And the goals for them, I mean, they have been one of the most successful programs in college football, at least in terms of being a championship contender. I understand Alabama's the powerhouse. They win every year. Clemson, a couple in there. Ohio State has won the last 7 years. But Notre Dame's been as close as anybody. And as long as you're still involved in that, in my mind, yeah, I agree with you. I think that they're going to stand pat. But my other question is, because I don't know it as well, and I'm hopeful you do too, the biggest thing in terms of Notre Dame's unique spot, aside from their perfect mesh of academics and athletics, that always being an attractive offer, is with their independence. They've always had a high-level media rights deal that is solely theirs. I know that NBC contract closes in a couple years, I think. I could be wrong on that. If I am, jump in and correct me. But whenever that ends, do you expect, let's say for the sake of argument, if they're an independent still, do you expect Notre Dame to be as appetizing as, let's say, an Apple TV or NBC again or somebody like that to swoop up their rights if they're not in a conference?
Absolutely. It's the most visible program in the country when it comes to college football, because love them, hate them, don't really like them, don't really watch them. The one aspect of Notre Dame football in the fall is it draws the television viewers, it draws the eyeballs, it draws whatever team they're playing and wherever they're playing it, whether it's in New York City or Chicago or Los Angeles or San Francisco or somewhere. Wherever this team goes, it draws the ratings and it draws numbers. And it's something where the television aspect of it, that national aspect of it, it's not necessarily all the money that Notre Dame gets from NBC, because let's face it, it would make a heck of a lot more, way more money being part of the Big Ten Conference and being part of that television package. What they like is the national notoriety and the independent and the identity of, we can go anywhere we want We can play whoever we want. We can play whenever we want. They don't ever, one of the goals of the TV independence was they don't ever want to be dictated to say, you're going out to Iowa City as a member of the Big Ten Conference and you're playing an 11 a.m. kickoff on the Big Ten Network.
That's a heck of a point. Because I don't think about that in part because I have the blinders on because I'm watching Notre Dame every weekend. And I understand that for the most part, a lot of those games are going to be in prime time. But yeah, you're right. I mean, at worst, you're maybe looking at a 3:30 kick. I mean, I'm sure that there's been the occasional maybe noon start, like maybe rarely, but usually it's in that 3:30 and beyond window. And yeah, it's a great point. At some point, it's all likelihood they would get put in that 11 a.m. slot. But I guess my biggest thing, though, is that you're still going to get the eyeballs, right? Like you're still, because it's Notre Dame, you're still going to get the viewership. I don't know. I go back and forth with it. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. The Independence has always been a part of my upbringing, and I've always been supportive of it. But if all of your rivals save the Naval Academy and save Army and save, the just academy schools in general, those are your most cherished rivalries next to USC and I'm not going to go through the whole list, but when you see rivals in the past now join up on the Big Ten, does that move the needle at all for them, looking at, okay, we could probably play in any given year a majority of these schools, or is it just the ability to have total autonomy on their schedule, what their biggest selling point is?
The Big Ten, the last time Notre Dame went this far down the road with the Big Ten was in 1999, and they made a very public spectacle of it to the point of convening the Board of Trustees meeting in London to make the announcement that the Big Ten kind of stepped out on a limb, and Notre Dame had to make this big production of, we really like the fact that the Big Ten Conference wants us, but we're going to remain in the Big East. So at that point, that was the smart play because the Big Ten Conference was still a Midwestern conference. But you look at that league now, it's more national, which is why today, as we stand here in July, whatever, in 2022, it's more attractive to Notre Dame to look hard at the Big Ten because you can go play in New York City. You can go play in the Washington, D.C. area. You can play in the Midwest. You can get to Chicago. Now you can get out to Los Angeles. And, oh, by the way, your biggest rival is in the league that will be a repeat opponent every single year. So you can play more. You can be more of a national school in what the Big Ten Conference is in 2022 than what it was back in 1999.
Tom Noie joins us. You can follow him on Twitter at TNoie. That's TNOIENDI on Twitter. Covers the Notre Dame athletics across the board, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, heck, College World Series action for him. Been around the beat since 1992, joining us. Sticking with the football side of things for Notre Dame, and actually I guess I misspoke there. Shifting gears for the big picture for Notre Dame athletics. Mm-hmm. You have all the other sports, at least the major sports, tied up within the ACC, and you continue to see rumors, which, like you mentioned, fasten the seatbelt, it's going to happen every day, on teams jumping ship from conferences. What does it do for Notre Dame if the ACC comes apart in such a way that they are, I think they're the biggest name in the conference now, but if Clemson and Florida State abandon ship, they're far and away bringing the most to the table to that conference. What happens to those other sports? Are they going to start to legitimately seek out other options should things fall apart in the ACC?
Yeah, and because, Jimmy, they've been down this road before in the Big East. Back in 2004, when Virginia Tech and Miami decided we're leaving the Big East for the ACC, Notre Dame said, you know what, we'll stick tight. We'll honor our commitment to the Big East. We're part of the Big East. Next year, Boston College leaves, 2005. Notre Dame said, we're still going to ride this out with you. Jump to 2011 when Syracuse and Pittsburgh leave the Big East for the ACC. Notre Dame said, don't worry about us. We want to see the Big East through. We're part of the Big East. But then, all of a sudden, the Big East becomes something that Notre Dame did not want when they brought in teams like Boise State. They were going to bring in Boise State and East Carolina and Houston and SMU. And Notre Dame looked around and said, boy, I don't know. That's really not the teams that we really want to align with. We're moving to the ACC. Now, Notre Dame tomorrow, or even in the next hour, could say, we're going to stay with the ACC and we're going to ride this out with you. Well, what happens? Like you said, what if Clemson leaves? What if Florida State leaves? What if Miami leaves? Or North Carolina and Virginia leave? Or any combination of like North Carolina and Duke, they go to the Big Ten. Then all of a sudden you're looking at an ACC without all those programs, but you have Notre Dame involved in it. That's why I just don't see any path for Notre Dame to go to the ACC as a full member and say, yeah, no, everything Notre Dame needs and could want and really has to have, it's in the Big Ten, because you just can't put your trust in the ACC, given everything that's happened last year with Oklahoma and Texas, last week with USC and UCLA. What's the next big bomb that's going to drop in college realignment? If it happens in the ACC, Notre Dame has no choice. They have to call the Big Ten and say, all right, we're ready. Let's talk.
Is there any scenario where Notre Dame moving on to the Big Ten, if they make that move, in all likelihood it ends one of the most historic partnerships in college athletics in their agreements with the military academies? How important is that aspect of the Notre Dame schedule and to Jack Swarbrick and company when it comes to their independence?
Absolutely important. And that's one of the reasons they've remained independent is they're able to play the Naval Academy every single year, whether it's in a couple of years ago in San Diego. This year it's going to be in Baltimore. Next year they're going to play in Dublin, Ireland. Like Navy, USC, and Stanford have been the three constants on the schedule that are non-negotiable for Notre Dame every single year, because having USC and Stanford, that allows Notre Dame to finish its season every single November out in California, whether it's in Southern California with USC or up in Northern California with Stanford. So it's like those two, those stay every year. Navy, we know the history between Navy and Notre Dame,
yep,
dating back so many decades. That's non-negotiable. So it's not an easy decision for Jack Swarbrick, for the Board of Trustees to say, you know what, we can solve all our problems, just go into the Big Ten. We'll play 10 conference games. We'll still have USC there, because you have Navy and you have Stanford, which, by the way, I think it gets lost in the shuffle of everything. If Notre Dame could bring Stanford along in the Big Ten, Jack Swarbrick went to Stanford Law School. So Jack Swarbrick is really tied to Stanford, maybe more so than a lot of people know. It's just not an easy decision for them to call up Kevin Warren and say, yeah, we're coming.
For Notre Dame moving forward with the discussions with the college football playoff, and I know some of this is speculation, but by the time that ends in a couple of years, when you say we're fastening our seatbelts, is that pretty much what Irish fans are waiting for right now, is the next phase of the college football playoff? And if that is what they're waiting for, do you expect somebody like the Big Ten to always have that door open?
To have that door
for
open
Notre Dame to join? Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think they would do it publicly, because, again, as we talked about in 1999, they looked really silly by going out on a limb for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame saying, "Yeah, hey, thanks for everything, but we're not interested."
It's very sweet.
So yeah, I think that's always going to be open for them. But like we said, we talked about, until somebody figures out what's happening down the road with the college football playoff, then Notre Dame's going to be like, we'd like to join the Big Ten and solidify our athletic department and our athletic future, but we're going to sit tight and see where this whole thing goes, because as much as it was last week, the proverbial seismic shift, they still feel like they'll have that path to the college football playoff that they really need and want.
Tom Noie joining us of the South Bend Tribune. Tom, looking at this season, I think I mentioned this to you when I spoke to you back in January or so. It was my birthday, bitter taste in my mouth. Not the start you wanted to the Marcus Freeman era, but in terms of the recruiting trail for them, not just this season, but in the years to come, pretty historic trends in terms of what Coach Freeman's been able to do. There's optimism there. I want to start there with the recruiting trail. Talk a little bit about what the Irish have been able to put together with his first real in the trenches on the ground as a head coach in the recruiting world.
How does ridiculous sound? Like it's really been, and this has been a talking point for Marcus Freeman since he was introduced in early December. Like he's got to be the main guy on every single recruit. And us media dopes that cover Notre Dame kind of looked at each other and said, "Yeah, right. Yeah, let's see that happen," because that was seldom the case when Brian Kelly was the coach. Despite all the success that he had here, he was more kind of like just the guy in the corner office that if you were lucky, the 4-star, 5-star recruit would be able to get maybe 6 words in during their official visits. But Marcus Freeman has been totally opposite. He's been the guy on every recruit that they've had. They had a run of about 4 or 5 4-star guys here in the last week. Every one of them commits to Notre Dame, and it's just been something where it's going to be interesting to see how Marcus Freeman now balances what he needs to do during a regular season and still be the number one guy as far as a recruiter for Notre Dame. But he has said from the start, recruiting has got to be priority 1, 2, and 3. And for the last 7 months, it's been priority 1, 2, and 3. They got the number 1 class in the country right now.
I know you can't simulate this, but I'm going to ask you anyway because I just want to get your thoughts on it. I am worried, and I think a lot of Notre Dame fans probably are, at least those that aren't, full scale, like best in the world, blinded by that. I'm worried about that season opener. I am at Ohio State. I know shots have been fired by both sides. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Notre Dame starts off the season with a loss to Ohio State. Look at the rest of their schedule. Is there enough meat there in your mind for them to get back in the playoff next year or this season?
Absolutely, especially if that game's close. Now look, it's a lot to ask a first-year head coach to go into his first regular season game and win in Ohio Stadium. It would be a lot to ask of a Notre Dame team that went 11-1 or undefeated and
right.
were the defending national champions to go do what people expect them to do at Ohio State. So yeah, and it's not necessarily who you lose to when it comes to the college football playoff. It'll be when you lose. If Notre Dame loses to Ohio State and runs the table, beating BYU in Las Vegas, beating Clemson at Notre Dame, beating USC at the Coliseum Thanksgiving weekend, there'll absolutely be a college football playoff team when the end of 2022 rolls around.
Why did Brian Kelly hate green jerseys so much?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is you can overdo the green jersey thing. Like every year, everybody expected. Now, the thing that I didn't understand is when they would have their Wear Green campaign last year.
Yes,
and we're the people here in South Bend are being beaten over the head for like 7 days. Hey, wear green, Notre Dame. Hey, wear green, and then Notre Dame wears blue uniforms. Like that's the perfect opportunity to bring out the green uniforms, and they didn't do it. So it's just weird. People get all worked up about green uniforms and should they or shouldn't they? And now people are worked up about, well, they're going to wear green uniforms this year, but they're going to wear them against Cal. So it's just a no-win situation up here.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that always bugged me was the campaign of it all, because I don't want to hear because I'm going to wear the green in general. They're my favorite jersey. I'm going to wear them as a fan, but I don't like running the campaign. And then I know that they had Coach Freeman run through like mean tweets like on Kimmel kind of esque setup with glad they're wearing the green jerseys for the fans, but the Navy are out there on the field, whatever. I'm right there with you. I didn't like the campaign aspect of it, but they should be special to some extent. I agree with that.
Absolutely, and the mean tweets thing was awesome because that's Marcus Freeman in a nutshell as far as his personality and his openness. And it's like the guy's got a sense of humor. He's not afraid to show it, whereas Brian Kelly was more buttoned down, CEO, I'm this, I can't do that, I can't crack a smile, and now all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of that with him down at LSU. Like people are saying, hey, Brian, it's okay to show your personality. And Marcus Freeman jumps into that with both feet. So it's to this point, it's been great with Marcus Freeman. Let's see what happens when the regular season starts and the pressure ratchets up like 5, 6, 7 times.
I don't know. I mean, Coach Kelly has picked up new dance moves and a Southern accent since he's been gone. So I mean, he's loosened up. He's loosened up in some regard, Tom. He's gotten there somehow down south.
It's all about family, Jimmy.
I got that family. I understand, Tom. Tom, I appreciate you always making time. I know we'll talk throughout the football season. Enjoyed your coverage over at the College World Series, and all the best to you and your family as we get closer to opening day.
You got it, my man. Have a great weekend and the rest of the summer. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. That is Tom Noie, covers the Irish for the South Bend Tribune. You can follow him on Twitter at TNoieNDI. That's at TNOIENDI on Twitter. That does a great job covering the Irish across all of their athletics. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. I mean, I know that the Notre Dame is a very polarizing topic across the board, not just across the country, but here in this state, because it's school up to the north, and some people view it as arrogance from Notre Dame and all that. But I mean, regardless of where you stand on them, Tom's exactly right. They draw eyeballs, and even though they haven't had the national championship trophy to show for it, they have continued to make appearances and be as involved in the college football playoff picture over the last 5 years, just as much as anybody else in the country, save Alabama and maybe Clemson, I suppose. But outside of that, I mean, you're looking like, what are they playing for? Alabama's so much better. I mean, Alabama's so much better than everybody. But you go out, you play the games, and you give yourself an opportunity to make some noise. That is quite a test, though, for Coach Freeman and company at the Horseshoe in Columbus coming up to open the season. Going to be very interesting to see how the season unfolds for Notre Dame and whether or not they join the conference. But whether you're the biggest Big Ten fan in the world, and Tom just mentioned it because they're never going to say it publicly because they don't want to be embarrassed with it, Notre Dame still draws enough attention, both from fans and from coverage alike. It doesn't matter if it's next week, next year, 5 years from now. Big Ten would welcome Notre Dame with open arms at any point in time should they decide to want to make that move, just because of the influx of cash they would instantly add on top of the ridiculous money that is present in the Big Ten Conference. And I think it'd be great for both parties involved, but I understand the relationships with the naval academies and the just military academies across the board, dating back all the way to World War II, and the relationship that those programs have had. So I get all that. I know it's a tough decision, but as long as you have a seat at the playoff table, that's all that matters in terms of Notre Dame's game plan. We're going to take a break. Coming up, plenty of questions about the Pacers. DeAndre Ayton, is there really an offer sheet going to happen there? What does it all mean? We're going to talk with Tony East of Forbes at WTHR next on the Dan Dakich Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Mower Shop in Fishers proudly offers Spartan mowers built in the United States for the strongest lineup in America. Spartan mowers at themowershop.com, 317-849-9500.
Hey, it's Jake Quarry. This Saturday night at the Tom Wood Group Indianapolis Speedrome powered by Lincoln Tech, it's their annual family fireworks extravaganza, lighting up the sky, the racetrack, and sure to set off most every car alarm in the parking lot. Plus, late models light up the track with a wild and unpredictable 75-lap figure eight, all presented by USA Insulation. The Speedrome is family-friendly racing action, great food, free parking, and outrageous fun. That's fireworks this Saturday at the Speedrome. Location information, ticket prices, and more available at speedrome.com.
Here's what's happening with the Fan.
Think you have the best sports trivia knowledge? Listen to Kevin and Query weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. and call into the pop quiz for your chance to win a signature service Jiffy Lube oil change and a pair of tickets to see the Doobie Brothers July 14th at Ruoff Music Center. Tune into The Ride with JMV all this week from 3 to 6 for your chance to win 2 tickets to see the Black Keys July 16th at Ruoff Music Center.
For more info, click on 1075thefan.com.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer, so we understand motorcycles. No, really, we have a bike translator.
Okay, this is awkward, but this bike says he'd appreciate it if you removed his skull pattern saddlebags. He feels self-conscious about them around all the other bikes, and he says you're not fooling anyone. You mostly ride with your golfing buddies. Listen, I'm just the messenger here. Oh, no, I don't want to say that. I think you made yourself clear.
Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
G'day, mate. As an Australian, I'm a croc expert. Crikey, get him away from me. I mean Crocs, like the footwear. And as a Croc expert, I have to say I like foamies from Skechers bloody better. Because foamies have that stylish, trendy look, plus Skechers' world-famous comfort. All for a price that's down under the competition. Foamies are ultra-lightweight, water-friendly footwear that come with fits and features like Arch Fit with podiatrist-certified support. Find foamies at Skechers.com, a Skechers store, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
You need a lawn care pro and a pest control pro. You can have both in one guy. You. DoMyOwn.com will help you get there with pro products, pro knowledge, and pro support. DoMyOwn.com for the pro in you.
Listen to Kevin and Query this week between 7 and 10 a.m. as they'll give away tickets to see the Doobie Brothers at Ruoff Music Center Thursday, July 14th.
The Ride with JMV.
Line 2's
Yes, Kuiper the rapper.
Oh, Kuiper. Tic-tac-toe?
Yes, sir.
That's you.
Let me bless you guys with a little quick verse before I go.
Do it.
My dad got up because he heard some knocking. Thought it was a quick me and he was rocking. Get to my room, opened up the door. He said, "Tell me what you doing playing tic-tac-toe." That's it. And that's no. Is that sex? Well, maybe so.
That's awesome.
Tic-tac-toe. Jay, I'm out.
Dude, that's awesome.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. It's the Dan Dakich Show. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So I'm going to have to defer to our producer to kind of reveal behind the curtain a little bit. Of course, I'm referring to the great Eddie Garrison. We've had some funny moments when we brought the great Tony East of Forbes and WTHR on, but there's a specific reason that for the first time ever, Cardi B was played during the Dan Dakich Show. Eddie, I ask you to share with the fine viewers.
Well, I'm going to ask Tony East here because he was the one who put it on Twitter, and then he and I just kind of had a back and forth. So, Tony East, can you explain why I'm playing some Cardi B on the airwaves of The Fan?
The title of that song has the word hot in it, and it came out last Friday, and it's been hot in Indy ever since before today. So I can't say the whole title of the song, I don't think, on the show, but it was a very fitting joke, I thought, because I was listening to it and sweating in my car. So thank you once again for having me come in on the best possible song.
Well, that's why Eddie is the tops in terms of being in that producer chair, and we appreciate when we have top shelf guests like yourself and the great Tony East joining us. It's been a busy last couple of weeks for the Pacers. You can follow him on Twitter at TEastNBA. And of course, this conversation, like all our conversations, brought to you by the Mower Shop in Fishers Hotline. All your residential, commercial mowers, as well as outdoor power equipment, parts, products, and service on those mowers at themowershop.com. 317-849-9500. Go see Dan's boy, Paulie. Get all your mower needs fixed. Tony, it has been very, very busy the last couple of weeks for the Pacers. Finish up the draft. Summer League starts tonight. A lot of different areas I want to go to, but first, the DeAndre Ayton elephant in the room. Tony, where are you in that news cycle? Do you think the Pacers are going to try to acquire DeAndre Ayton?
The balloon on that rumor keeps getting bigger and bigger, Jimmy, and I think the reason is obvious. There's not that many teams left that DeAndre Ayton can even sign a contract with that makes sense for him. Obviously, the Suns can do it. He's going to be in these rumors for Kevin Durant trades for forever because Kevin Durant may want to go to Phoenix. But outside of those two teams, San Antonio and Indiana are the only ones with significant space to offer Ayton a contract that would make sense for his value. And that's why Indiana is going to continue to be in these rumors. They're in a rebuilding stage. It might make sense for them to acquire a guy like that. And if the Pacers are able to, use their resources to just sign him to a deal outright, that would make a ton of sense. I mean, he's really talented and really young, and the Pacers are a young team that's looking to add talent. That it seems like a natural fit. There's been some interesting stuff out there about how much space the Pacers actually have. They might have to make a small move to be able to sign him to what would be the appropriate contract, or if they'd be willing to do a sign and trade and give up a quality player in return. That kind of stuff I don't know as much, but in terms of DeAndre Ayton being young and talented and the Pacers trying to add talent, it makes a ton of sense naturally in that space.
Does it make any sense? We've seen it so many times over the last couple of years. As long as the Pacers have legitimate interest in him, does it make sense for them to force the Suns' hand and sign that or give him an offer sheet?
Yeah, I think so, because the other part of this, look, if the Suns were willing to pay him the max, they'd have done it already, right? We've been in free agency for 8 days now, and obviously they have a Kevin Durant-sized elephant in the room that maybe makes it not that simple for them. But I think if the Suns wanted him and thought he was a max-level player, of course I think they'd be willing to give him that deal and bring him back. So
that is where the Pacers can kind of force their hand and really break things up for Phoenix and maybe even Brooklyn if this is going to look like a Durant trade at some point. So, yeah, I think they can put pressure on Phoenix if they're willing to do an offer sheet like that.
What's the future hold in your mind for Myles Turner should DeAndre Ayton be headed to town? And let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's not a sign-and-trade situation where Turner's being moved off. Let's say it's because of the offer sheet.
Yeah, I think Turner could stay in town if Ayton doesn't come, but if Ayton does come in any form, via offer sheet, via sign-and-trade, whatever, you'd have to think he's on the way out. And he's on an expiring contract anyway, so it makes sense that they would be willing to listen to talks on what his value would be or what teams would be willing to give up for him just because it's better than losing him for nothing. If Ayton is now on the team, then it makes even more sense to listen to those calls. They already have a bunch of young centers to back up someone like Ayton. So if they did get a guy like Ayton in the door, it would seem like they'd be at least more aggressive or more willing to hear talks about what Turner's value could be from other teams in the league.
Tony East joining us on the Mower Shop in Fishers hotline. You can get Spartan Mowers, a new product line from the Mower Shop, the perfect mower to fit any yard, any size, any time. Go see Paulie at the Mower Shop in Fishers, or go to themowershop.com. Give him a call, 317-849-9500. Big movement for the Pacers, at least in terms of a player choosing to play in Indiana, with Jalen Smith re-signing just the other day, or at least that being announced officially just the other day. Tony, with the ability for other teams to pay him more money, what does that say about him and his direction with this franchise, wanting to specifically stay in Indiana, number one? And number two, how much do you think offering that starting spot and belief in him played into his decision to stay here?
Yeah, all this situation with Jalen Smith turned out, about as perfect as the Pacers could have hoped, in my opinion. Every team that would have needed a young big or a flyer young big on their team ended up using their draft capital or their money on something else, and then Jalen Smith and Rick Carlisle had a pretty solid relationship, and he played really well here, and his family acknowledged that it was a good place for him to grow. Like, everything felt perfectly in line for the Pacers, despite their limitations, to be able to convince someone to take less money to come stay in Indiana. And the deal he signed, 2 years with a third-year player option, means there's no more restrictions once this deal, if Smith opts out or in, either way, the Pacers will be able to offer him anything to be able to keep him in the future. The restrictions are gone, so it works out perfectly. He chooses Indiana, and I do think you nailed the big thing here. They were able to say, and he said this, he said at the end of the season, I need a place for fit and opportunity. They're going to be huge for me. The Pacers said, you're our starting four when the season opens. I think that's a big commitment from the Pacers to be able to do that, considering he's young and a little wobbly in terms of consistency, but that had to play a big factor for him because his season or his career has not really featured those sort of opportunities. He was really buried in Phoenix behind Ayton, ironically, behind JaVale McGee, behind even guys like Frank Kaminsky down on that Phoenix team. So coming to a franchise that's giving him that opportunity, that's going to give him the minutes to develop and be a top 10 pick kind of guy that he was just 18 months ago, had to be huge for his decision-making. So this worked out great for the Pacers, and if you're Jalen Smith, who's been searching for minutes, searching for opportunity, it had to be the right fit for him as well.
I always appreciate a fresh perspective or a fresh take on the different topics of the day, and I like to let Eddie chime in whenever something is on his mind. And he mentioned earlier, our great producer Eddie Garrison, as Tony East joins us, that, and Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jalen Smith, you feel, pairs better with DeAndre Ayton than he does Myles Turner. Eddie's nodding his head and saying yes. Tony, your thoughts on that? Do you think in terms of fit that having a floor pairing of Jalen Smith and DeAndre Ayton is better or worse than a floor pairing of Smith and Turner?
If Smith and Ayton fit well together, I'm sure Phoenix would have at least tried to have that be something they did over the last few seasons. But again, he was very wobbly and rocky in Phoenix until finding his footing in Indiana. I think that in general, most two big pairings in the league or in the Pacers sort of ecosystem would be better if Turner is one of the two bigs, just because he is, at least for a center, a good shooter. His percentages don't reflect those great shooting numbers of some players, but for a center, he's a good shooter, and that makes fits much easier. But Jalen Smith was also a good shooter for the Pacers, so you could argue that if he's the floor spacer and he continues to be a 37% guy like he was for the Pacers last year from deep, then he would also fit with any other big. So I understand the argument of thinking Ayton and Smith could fit pretty well because Ayton's going to be more a 10 feet and in kind of guy no matter what team he's on. But I think Turner's defense, he's a little bit better of a shooter, or at least more consistent throughout his career than either Smith or Ayton would be, would make me think that Smith-Turner would probably be a little bit better of a pairing than Smith and Ayton. But both would be fine.
Eddie, do you want to add anything there? Okay, just want to double check. Tony East joining us on the Mower Shop and Fishers hotline. To that point, Tony, I know that it's not the same as a free agent, unrestricted, of this caliber, having the free will to go choose where they want to play versus restricted free agents are kind of at the mercy of if the offer sheet gets signed, okay, does their team match or are you headed to a new spot? Ayton, 20 years ago, the player prototype he is would probably be viewed as a game-changing force in the league. Now, not so much, but he's still only 23. When you look at the history of the Pacers, at least the modern Pacers, this would have to be one of the bigger free agent moves that they've made if they pull this off, right?
Oh, if they get Ayton, it's the best signing in franchise history. Like bar none. David West was I think a one-time All-Star when they got him, or two, I can't remember. Brogdon as an ex-rookie of the year who was on the ascent is in that mix as well. But yeah, I mean, look, Ayton, proven playoff contributor, was a key piece on a team that was 2 wins from a title. Obviously his I don't even want to call them limitations. Just the stuff, his skill set doesn't necessarily lend to this is what every team is trending towards in the modern NBA. But he's super talented, former number 1 pick, incredible player in the playoffs for that Suns team. That would be the best signing for the Pacers probably ever if they're able to do it.
If you have the GM hat on, are you bringing him in? Are you making that offer sheet tomorrow once the Brogdon stuff clears in terms of your cap space? Is that your direction if you're wearing the GM hat?
I would seriously consider it. I don't know if he's necessarily worth max level money in my opinion. He's worth a lot, certainly, and he'd be better than Turner on this team. But it's tough because you're making moves to clear the space to get him, just to properly pay him and hope he fits your team. And the big hurdle that I've had trouble getting over if the Pacers do go this route is if they sign Ayton to a max or close to max deal, they pay Halliburton next summer. That's their team. They're betting that the roster they have now will grow into whatever their goals are for this team. If that's playoff success or a championship run or whatever it is, that's their team basically. It's going to be very hard for them to find the resources to spend significantly outside of maybe next summer on one guy to really add to that core. So if they think he's the guy that can take the current core that they have over the top, then yeah, I get it. And if they think that, then go for it. And if I was in the GM chair, though, I don't know that I quite think he's the guy, and I think there's a lot more of those guys next summer. But then again, it's the Pacers, and you don't always get the opportunity to sign this level of player with cap space. We just talked about that he could be the best free agency signing that they've ever had. So if they evaluate him that way and say, yes, he could be the guy that makes this core legit and could make us a playoff mainstay for years and years, then yeah, they should totally try to do it.
There are 2 different players in terms of play style, particularly with Myles' ability to stretch the floor and shoot the basketball from deep. But does the fact that Turner's on an expiring deal and the idea that you're probably going to have to pay him big money, probably not quite the level of Ayton money, but the fact you're going to have to pay him big money next offseason factor into this at all in terms of their planning?
Yeah, his contract status has to matter, right? And they can offer him an extension now, too, which I think would give them telling information if he accepts or declines an offer of that way. Maybe they already have, I don't know. But, yeah, it has to play a factor, too. Is paying Turner next summer a better alternative? Who knows what their team situation even looks like then. If they have a great season this year and really take off, then maybe he's worth paying and continuing in that direction. But, yeah, I think that has to matter when you consider their planning is, next summer they could just be talking about what other center could they be signing instead of Myles Turner instead, since he is on an expiring deal now. So, yeah, I think that absolutely has to play a factor in their thinking.
Summer League for the Pacers gets started later this evening when they duke it out with the Charlotte Hornets. For you scouting this team and following Summer League, what should Pacers fans most be keeping their eye on? And I am team overreaction, Tony. If Bennedict Mathurin drops 35, 10, and 8, I'm fine with crowning him. I don't have a problem with that as long as you remind yourself at the end of the day that we need to see that in October and beyond. But still, I'm all for having fun with it. What are you following along with this youth movement for the Pacers?
Yeah, it's always fun to have fun with Summer League and be all smiley and then remind everyone that Chris Dunn and Kevin Knox were unbelievable Summer League players for their respective teams a few years ago. Yeah, Mathurin's the story of Summer League, right? This is the highest pick they've had in 3 decades. That's why the draft coverage for the Pacers was so strong and high in quantity this year. Because this is huge. He is their guy. He is the story of this team for maybe not even this year, for 3 or 4 years. Because if he turns out to be a really good 6th pick, then that could change their franchise and push them forward. And if he, is just an okay 6th pick, that matters a lot. And this is the first time the Pacers will get to see him in see what he can do with some members of their team. I think it's noteworthy that some of the guys playing with him, if Duarte is able to go, he's still got the toe injury, but could be, Nembhard and Isaiah Jackson and Terry Taylor, Dwayne Washington, some guys who are on the roster, right, that he will be playing with in the NBA. That's noteworthy. So I'll be curious. In this first game, usually in the first game, everybody plays who is healthy and can go. He'll probably be a little more in an off-ball role, but as Summer League progresses, and some of those NBA guys, they just sit out for the rest of Summer League, if they transition him into more on-ball pick-and-roll reps, and that will be the story of Summer League is how does he look in both of those roles? Where does he need to evolve? How can he grow? When October does come, what does the Pacers need to do to really maximize him? But every game, he's the story, watching what he can do, how he fits with these guys, because he is probably, him and Halliburton basically are the story of the franchise going forward for a little bit.
Last thing for you, I don't know if you're in the same boat as me, but if I was running the Pacers and looking at the state of not just the Eastern Conference, but the NBA as a whole, I would be doing my best. I'm not saying I'm trusting the process and I'm tanking every season, but I would be doing my best to orchestrate a path that looks like that without outwardly saying it. Top prospect, at least right now in next year's draft, is Victor Wembanyama, the Frenchman overseas, only 18 years old, but plenty of comparisons out of him. I don't know if you've seen tape on him, and if you haven't, you could just answer the question this way. When you have the top-tier class like next year's supposed to be, if you're in that GM chair, would you be still trying to set yourself up based on where the Pacers are right now to be back in the lottery next year, maybe have a ping-pong ball's chance at that first pick?
Yeah, he could be the best prospect in 20 years, like since LeBron James, maybe you just say Anthony Davis, whatever, in a while. He is awesome. And I've only watched, I think, 1 or 2 full games for him. Even his highlights are just unbelievable. There's also Whitehead and Scoot Henderson next year.
Yep.
Next year's a really good draft. And I think the Pacers, by choosing a path of going through a youth movement, they have 12 guys under contract who are 25 and under, are kind of not even going like the tanking word route. They're just going to be younger and growing and maybe not as good this coming season naturally. And, oh, look, they also have 2 extra first-round picks today to make some noise and try to get into the range to get one of those dudes in a star-studded 2023 class. So, yes, I think that is certainly something they will be considering in a team-building strategy that makes sense for them right now.
He is one of the best. He's a great Tony East. Does a wonderful job covering the Pacers for Forbes, WTHR, and, of course, Locked on Pacers. Follow him on Twitter at TEastNBA. Tony, always good to talk to you. I look forward to chatting it up as Summer League unfolds, and I know our paths will continue to cross as this youth movement continues to roll through come opening night.
You got it, Jimmy. Thanks a ton for having me.
No problem. Pleasure as always. That is Tony East. You can follow him on Twitter at TEastNBA. He's brought to us by the Motor Shop in Fishers. Motor Shop in Fishers introduces Spartan Mowers, the perfect mower to fit any yard, any size, any time. Go see Dan's boy Paulie at the Motor Shop in Fishers, or go to themotorshop.com, and you can always give him a call, 317-849-9500. Quick break for us. When we come back, talk a little bit more as Pacers Summer League rolls on, and then top of the hour, Beau Estes of NBA.com's Top 10, as well as a contributor on NBA TV, is live from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. He is going to join us, set the stage for how Summer League is shaping up, whether he's pro overreaction or not, and plenty of big-time storylines involved in NBA Summer League. Beau Estes joins us next. Jimmy Cook, actually in just a couple minutes, I should say, top of the hour, Beau Estes joins us. Jimmy Cook filling in for the coach, Dan Dakich, on the Dan Dakich Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com.
Hubler has it all. If you're struggling with weight and frustrated with dieting each and every year, Mark Patrick Seminars can help.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I had lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
For only $49.99, lose all the weight you want, 100% guaranteed. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick Seminars. That's right, seminars Thursday, July 28th at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Fishers. Weight loss seminar 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 to 10 p.m. And Saturday, July 30th at the La Quinta Inn and Suites South in Indianapolis. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 to 4 p.m. That's Thursday, July 28th at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Fishers and Saturday, July 30th at the La Quinta Inn and Suites South in Indianapolis. Registration begins 30 minutes before seminar.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. It's the Dan Dakich Show. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Dan Dakich Show. Jimmy Cook in for the coach on a Friday. Happy Friday to you. Made it through that weird holiday end weekend week. Getting the day off on Monday. And tip of the cap to you for not only surviving the work week after the short week, but additionally joining us here on a Friday. Double tip of the cap to you for that. Earlier today, we talked to Jason Hammer for some bets. Tom Noie joined us top of this past hour, going over where Notre Dame stands within college football and college athletics, with all the conference realignments going down. Tony East just joined us. All that coming via the Mower Shop in Fishers hotline. Go see Dan's boy Paulie, the Mower Shop in Fishers. 317-849-9500 for all your mower shop needs. A shout out to the YouTube chat. Van Pasterman, Jody, Curtis, Brandon, Stick B, just a couple there. Name a few sticking with us today. I really appreciate you as well, always keeping the conversation fun and engaging. Big opportunity for the Indiana Pacers, at least in terms of the way they want to build this roster out, as we talked about with Tony East last segment. And to be honest with you, I go back and forth with it. If it was me, truthfully, whether or not that's one, a little shout out, Brian, appreciate you. I'm happy to hand out shout outs to the YouTube chat. I'm no problem there whatsoever. But when I look at where the Pacers are at right now, I'm all about getting younger at every position and rolling the ball out there, seeing what happens. But more than likely, when you're such a young team in the National Basketball Association, you're going to struggle. And I'm not against having those struggles, because really good draft class next year. I like ping pong balls. I want an opportunity at that number one pick. I just do. Because I legitimately would like to see, and I know that Pacers fans have been through so much that, you're probably pessimistic about this, rightfully so. I would love nothing more than to see the Pacers hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. Like, I think if you look at sports things that I have not seen that I'd want to see, obviously it was the Chiefs for a really long time, at least in my neck of the woods. That got done. And for a while, I didn't think that would ever happen. Notre Dame, in terms of winning a national title again, haven't had one in my lifetime. Would love to see that. And the Pacers finally capturing an NBA title. That would be sweet too. IU basketball, same way. They haven't won one in my lifetime. That would be really tight. Would love to see that. And of course, my dad is a Butler alum. I grew up a Butler fan as well. Would love to see the Doggies reach the mountaintop. But again, you're making a roll of the dice with any team to win a national championship. So I would settle to see the Doggies do some run in the Big East. Maybe capture a Big East championship there. But again, every sports fan has their goals they want to see. For me, the Pacers are that, which is why I'm tanking. But I'm not calling it that, right? Like, I don't want to make it seem like championship or bust, but I'm not interested, even as consistent as the Pacers were, I'm not as interested in the idea of the next 15 years making the playoffs every year, or making the playoffs 10 of the 15 years and being a first-round exit every time. And even if you tank, which is why I'm on the fence about it a little bit, there's no guarantees you get the top pick. I get that. But the hype around Wembanyama is real. The hype around the 2023 draft class next year is real. And my goals are twofold here for the Pacers. That core young group getting better and better each game, being competitive, showing moments where it's like, man, this team could be something special in a year or 2 years. They just got to add this, or this. And armed with those draft picks they have next year, hopefully able to make some moves, make some noise. But I can tell you this right now, you're not getting the number 1 overall pick via trade. Just not happening. Like that just... You have to give an absolutely lucrative, crazy offer to make something like that happen. And that doesn't seem like something that I could ever see the Pacers doing. So you have to look at it realistically, which is playing for the future with this young team, but you're not competing for a championship or playoffs next year. You just want it to look like they're fun. Like that's really my bar. I understand it's all about winning, but I want them to be a fun, competitive team next year and give me reason for optimism and hope in the following season. I'm not holding this team to championship expectations. I'm not holding this team to be a top 5 seed next year. I want to have hope and optimism for the future. And DeAndre Ayton knows how to make an impact on a game. Heck, the Suns with DeAndre Ayton made it all the way to an NBA Finals. Had an opportunity, a good opportunity to win that very NBA Finals. Just last year. But they had a great team around him. So I don't think that by bringing in Ayton, you're hampering where the Pacers could go. But the reason I'm indifferent about it is this team, Ayton or not, still has a couple years away from being back to where they were 8 years ago, which is making Eastern Conference final appearances, being in the mix to potentially go get a championship. I think Mathurin can be a leader on one of those teams. I do. But this is the critical juncture for the Pacers in terms of where they're at. I said this a couple months ago, that making the wrong move and dropping the ball in this past last month's NBA draft could set the franchise back 5-10 years. They didn't do that this year's draft. They executed. Say what you will about Kevin Pritchard and company, they executed a high-level draft. And now it's a matter of getting better year over year and continuing to do well in the draft. Does bringing in Ayton hurt that? No, I don't think it does. Because I still think if you put Ayton in and you go trade Myles Turner, they're closer, I think, to being a playoff team. But I still think you're in the right avenue where you are setting your goals to a point where you're hoping the team gets better year over year and you're still able to have good quality assets to build the team to the draft. Because that's the only way to do it in a small market, is do it organically through the draft and then attract free agents because of the culture you have and because of the talent that you have built organically through the draft. Landing DeAndre Ayton would be the exact opposite of that, but it'd be a heck of an opportunity to be able to bring in someone that's only in his early 20s and help build around in the years to come. I'll be fine with it if they move on with Ayton, but I don't think it impacts greatly the current trajectory of the franchise, other than, like Tony mentioned, acquiring their biggest name in free agency, probably in franchise history. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Beau Estes of NBA.com's Top 10 and NBA TV is live from Sin City in Las Vegas for Summer League. We'll get word from Beau with how night one went, why you should be out there in Las Vegas if you're an NBA fan, why you need to do that at least one point in time in your life, and what he's tracking while he's out there at Thomas and Mack on the campus, or on the athletics complex campus of UNLV. Beau Estes up next. Jimmy Cook in for Double D here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Line 2.
Yes, Kuiper the rapper.
Oh, Kuiper. Tic-tac-toe?
Yes, sir.
That's you.
Let me bless you guys with a little quick verse before I go.
Do it.
My dad got up because he heard something knocking, thought it was a pick me, and he was rocket. Get to my room, opened up the door. He said, "Son, what you doing playing tic-tac-toe? That's X and that's O. Is that sex? Well, maybe so.
That's awesome.
Tic-tac-toe. All right, Jay, I'm out."
Dude, that's awesome.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, it's Dan Dakich here with my wife, the lovely Lee Ross. Lee, we've had several jobs done at our house by the Michaelis Corporation. Some planned, some not so planned. They helped us with an emergency, if I remember correctly.
Michaelis did some great scheduled contracting work for us, but when we had a water emergency because a pipe leaked, they were all over it quickly. They got the mess dried out and repaired all the damage from the leak, just like new.
Yeah, water in a house where it's not supposed to be can cause a lot of problems. Now it's like it never happened.
Yep, when we were in a pinch, the whole crew from Michaelis did a great job around the house, and what made it even better was they helped guide us through the insurance process.
Besides their incredible professionalism in emergency services and insurance restoration, Michaelis has experts in waterproofing, foundation repair, mold remediation, indoor air quality, and general contracting. Spelled Michaelis, pronounced Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY. That's 844-FIX-INDY or MichaelisCorp.com. Hey, summer is here. People want to get out of town. Who doesn't? Summer vacations, going to ball games. One thing I never leave home without is my AAA membership. Flat tire, dead battery, run out of gas, lock your keys in the car. AAA is there 24/7, 365, no matter where your travels take you. Do you really want to change this flat tire on the side of the road with cars and trucks zooming by 75 miles an hour? I do not. So, if you're planning to hit the road this summer, do yourself a favor. Join AAA today. To get your AAA membership, visit AAA.com or call 844-GO-AAA-GO or stop by your local AAA office. And don't forget to ask about complimentary travel planning and great insurance rates, whether it's home, auto, life, and so much more. You know, AAA gives you peace of mind because you don't have to be stuck on the side of the road to get assistance from AAA.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX. Indianapolis. The Yankees are in Boston to take on the Red Sox. Tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Dan Dakich Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I'm a traditionalist in some aspects, and I still haven't forgiven Fox Sports for using Round Ball Rock as their theme song for college basketball. Even though I've accepted it at this point, we're 3 or 4 years removed, and even though it dated me a little bit because I was on the back end of it in terms of my early childhood, This is the NBA on NBC. That's what I'm expecting to hear every time I hear that, and it's not. It's that I'm hearing live from Xavier for some Big East basketball. But I tip the cap nonetheless to our producer, Eddie Garrison, for giving at least some type of NBA sound to our next guest. I guess you could say, as the great Beau Estes joins us, because this is one of his favorite lines, because he was a focal point for a lot of the NBA on NBC. Beau, I guess we're already starting the interview with the conversation always going back to Jordan. I think that's already happened out of the gate. How are you?
Everything goes back to MJ, buddy. Everything that we talk about goes back to MJ. That's hilarious. Yeah, we're good. Jimmy, nobody maybe can relate more than you to what I'm going through. We're here at Summer League, and it's 250 degrees in Las Vegas, and I'm running around. We're getting ready for games.
The first night at Summer League is always the craziest one for me, and when you're away from it, like obviously I'm not out there today. I'm here in the Eastern time zone, but the idea of being able to turn on a game around midnight Eastern and watch the next generation of stars duke it out at Thomas and Mack is exhilarating for me, and Cox Pavilion and all that. I don't know if it's still Cox Pavilion, but it was when I was last there. Anyway, it's great for me on the Eastern time zone, but if you're flying out there, Beau, and you've just made that transition and you're East Coast media, if you don't pace yourself, that first night can put you on your backside real quick.
Yeah, I just got off the phone. I was chatting with Howard Beck from SI a few minutes ago. And, we talked about how after you've done this for a few years, you learn. You learn that there is a pace that you've got to develop over time. And a guy like Howard, I'm out here for 10 days. A guy like Howard will come in for 4 days. He's refined this thing pretty well. But, man, it is. First of all, it is still the Cox Pavilion, just so you know.
Good.
But, yeah, the idea of these top picks going head-to-head right after the draft. I mean, you get the draft, you see who went where, and then they're out there on the court going head-to-head. So the first game last night, we've got Jabari going up against Paolo, and I was sitting right there. It was terrific to see. I still remember last year. Cade Cunningham goes against Jalen Green, and you could tell that Jalen Green had a chip on his shoulder about not going number one, and he brought the fire. Last night to me had less fireworks, but it was also just interesting visually to see those guys go head-to-head, because when you saw them stand next to each other and when you saw the physicality of it, you could just see how much stronger Paolo is at this point in his career. He's just a bigger, stronger dude who seems more sort of day one NBA ready. That isn't to say he'll be a better NBA player. It's just he seems more ready right at this very second.
I preface this question a little bit as Beau Estes joins us on the Mower Shop and Fishers hotline. Go see Dan's boy Paulie at the Mower Shop. Mowershop.com, 317-849-9500. All your commercial, residential, mowers, repairs, and more at the Mower Shop. But I preface this question a little bit, Beau. When you look at the Summer League as a whole, are you team support overreactions by NBA Twitter whenever somebody goes off for a la Chet Holmgren, setting block records and all that? Or are you more level-headed? You're like, it's just another Summer League.
It's more fun to be overreacting,
yes,
for sure. I mean, it really is. It just adds a little level of excitement. Again, if you paid attention to this for a number of years, you know that Chet Holmgren was not going up against Kevin Durant when he did all that stuff. He was not going up against Giannis. It was still impressive. It really was. And again, he's going to grow. He's going to get better. He's going to improve his game. So it showed you what he was capable of against competition that he is already better than, and all these guys are trying to make the league. So it was impressive to me. I'm not going to overreact. I don't necessarily think he's going to be an all-star in year one or anything like that. But I think there's a lot of skill there, and he showcased what he's got in his toolkit in a pretty impressive way. Maybe more impressive than what I saw from even Paolo last night. Paolo was really good, but Chet just seems to have a lot of things he can do, even if he's not quite as NBA day one ready.
I know you were focused heavily on the NCAA tournament. My condolences to your boys. That's not where I was going with this, but
I'm fine, Jimmy. You don't need to give me condolences for North Carolina. They beat Duke in the Final Four game. That's all I really was worried about.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't have lived with that loss. It would have been devastating.
Yeah, I understand, and I tip the cap to you in that regard, and it was incredibly fun watching them play. But my main question was, I know you focus and watch the tournament as much as anybody does. And so I know you've seen this next name a little bit, but a name that's close to the hearts of a number of our listeners. One Jaden Ivey on the other side of the docket against Paolo Banchero last night. He chips in 20, leads the team, helps them get the W. What's your first impression, albeit that Summer League impression, of Jaden Ivey at the next level?
No, what he has is something that I don't care where you're watching, you can see it. He's got a gear that most people do not have. He has an ability to get to places on the court quicker, more effectively than most people have. That's not something you can improve enough through training to get where he is. He's got a natural gift, and he really showcased it. There was a play where I saw him pick up the ball just inside a half court, and he split two defenders before they even blinked. I mean, he was gone. So I'm really excited about him. Here's the deal to me with this year's draft. There were three guys that sort of separated themselves, and that's fair in Paolo, Jabari, and Chet. But Ivey could end up being the best player in this draft. I don't think many people would be surprised. I really don't. I mean, I think he's that good. This wasn't like next year's draft. Everybody knows who's going number one. It's done. It's been done for years. Yep. Yeah, Victor Wembanyama. So, but this year's draft was a little bit different. So don't be surprised if Ivey ends up being the best player in this draft. I'm not saying that he will be. I'm just saying I don't think anybody knows at this point.
Beau Estes joining us, the voice of NBA.com's Top 10, as well as a contributor to NBA TV. Follow him on Twitter at NBA Beau. Out in Las Vegas, Summer League gets started now through the 17th into its second day today. You mentioned players that could be the best player in this draft. And, of course, there's a little bit of bias there because it is localized. But I still contend that I am intrigued to see his first action in Las Vegas, and that of Bennedict Mathurin here at the Pacers. I think the upside and the ceiling on him, Beau, is just as good as any of the top picks that went. I don't know if he's going to be the best. I've said I think he can be. But in terms of where his ceiling lies and the traits that he brings to the next level, I'm very intrigued by what he does for Indiana.
I will tell you this. It doesn't happen a lot where I see film and I'm surprised and a little bit like, whoa, I didn't know he had that. And that's when I was watching film, that's where I was getting. So I think you're right. He falls into the category of somebody who could be the best player in this draft. You know, I can't tell you who I think it's going to be at this point, Jimmy. I really can't. But I think there is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 7, 8 candidates who could be that player. You know, when you think about Indiana, this is a team that a lot of change can happen in a real hurry for this franchise. And if it goes right, it could go really right. I've talked to a lot of folks about Eastern Conference team. I talked about the Atlanta Hawks lately, the New York Knicks lately. But the challenge in the Eastern Conference for me is this. How do you get into that top 4? Milwaukee seems locked forever with Giannis up there. Boston's going to be there for a while. It seems like Miami will be in that group. Joel Embiid, if he's healthy in Philadelphia, will keep his crew in there. To me, the Eastern Conference is tough, man. It's really tough. I mean, you got Trae Young now with DeJounte Murray. So getting better and timing your window for success is going to be really important for Indiana.
Beau Estes joining us. Give him a follow on Twitter at NBA Beau out at Las Vegas Summer League. You and I have had some wild adventures over the years, but I think, and I want to hear if this is still at the top of your mountain, the biggest in terms of news cycle while out in Las Vegas for Summer League was opening night of 2019. Not only did we have the earthquake that happened in Las Vegas and we had Zion ripping basketballs away from people and throwing them down, but the behind closed doors trade of Paul George to Paul George to LA to the Clippers, and then Kawhi Leonard shortly thereafter, that kind of coup that they obtained. It didn't end up working out championship wise for them, but they're still in the hunt. They're still in contention. First part of this question, Beau, is that still at the top of your list of craziness that this 10-day stretch of Summer League can provide to NBA fans?
That day was the nuttiest day for me, and it's the day. So we watched Zion, ripping the rims down. Then he gets injured. David Griffin sits in for the rest of Summer League, and we go out to eat. Literally, Jimmy, we're at a restaurant out here in Las Vegas, and the chandeliers start shaking back and forth. And I took a video that the U.S. Geological Survey retweeted. It's like 1 million views. But it was wild to be in the middle of that earthquake. And I believe that was also the year that the Anthony Davis thing was going down to the Lakers.
Yep.
So this is all happening at the same time. And honestly, and many of your listeners will be familiar with this feeling, days sort of blur together in Las Vegas. But that one was really special. That was really special time and a really special day. To me, I mean, I guess it's, the connection between the way Zion dunked and an earthquake happening that really tied that day together for me. But it was pretty amazing. And just, it's always a fun experience. I don't know that – I'm trying to think, have we had a rookie quite like Zion with the anticipation to see him? Certainly not with Cade and Jalen, and this year probably not. I mean, Zion was special, and I hope he gets back to being that sort of player soon. I really do, because the NBA needs young stars like that we can really put on TV, because Steph and LeBron can't carry this league forever, so somebody else has got to step in.
Well, to your point with that, though, and to the larger point on the craziness of Summer League, this one would be a secret that is not as closely guarded as that Clippers coup was. However, when you have everybody together and a meeting amongst the best minds the league has to offer, all these rumors about a number of different pieces, but primarily Kevin Durant. Beau, I want you to put on the GM hat. A, would that steal the stage for you if a trade gets done this week? And B, where do you envision KD lining up, or where do you think he would most fit should a trade happen?
Okay, I'm going to put on my Sean Marks hat here, and I'm going to run the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm going to say, let's just wait. Let's just let time be our friend in his negotiations. Let's just wait, because there's a part of me that, Jimmy, that, like, if we get to the regular season and we can get them on the court together for 10 games and they go 9-1, maybe they see it works. Now, I may be real naive here, and I may, behind the scenes, they could be saying, it's never going to happen. I'm going Ben Simmons. I'm not going to play until I'm out of here. It really could. But I think KD loves ball in a way that maybe gets him on the court. I would love to see them at least give it 10 games and see if it could work. If it can't, fine. But gosh, there's so much talent there. And I know that there are a variety of factors, like is Ben Simmons going to be okay physically and mentally? Is Kyrie going to be checked in? Who knows? Kevin Durant, we know, loves the game and he'll play. And if everybody's there, he would be great. But if I'm Sean Marks, I am delaying, Jimmy, and I know that's boring, but I am delaying just to see if I can mend some fences, because your best option, you never get fair value for a guy like Kevin Durant, right? You saw what Rudy Gobert drew on the trade market. What do you have to get fair value for Kevin Durant out there? Like every first-round pick for 2050? There's just not fair value out there, man. It's just not.
So I ask you this then, because the reports are that Rob Pelinka and Sean Marks and company are going to have a meeting, have a sit-down. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that Kyrie Irving is on the move, and I know there's been other trade pieces. So just to simplify this, let's entertain the idea that Kyrie's in LA and Russell Westbrook is in Brooklyn. If that move happens, the checks are already signed for Kevin Durant headed out of there. No, like that's not.
Yeah. No, my Sean Marks cap changes a bit at that point. Things that you got to move them at that point. I think you've already decided that this year's cashed. Russell will be the last year of his deal, so you clear that much salary space. And I think I read a report by a friend of mine that works here at Sports Business Classroom with me, Eric Pincus, who said that what looks like it may, and look, this is one of a million reports.
Sure.
But the Nets and the Lakers could draw the Spurs in to create some
I've seen
space.
that. Yep.
Yeah, to create some space, to make some stuff happen. So I think they're going to have to get creative to make it work. And again, just to my way of thinking, Kevin Durant is one of the very best players in the NBA. I don't think you get equal value. Just imagine if all of a sudden Steph demanded a trade.
Right.
You're never going to get equal value. You just cannot get equal value, because wherever Kevin Durant lands, if he landed in Indiana, let's say, all of a sudden they're in contention.
Don't do that, by the way. Be careful, because there's fan campaigns for that to happen. There's still dreams about but go ahead. Continue.
Think about it, Jimmy. If he lands there, you're in the discussion for an NBA championship right away. That's how much he transforms hopes and dreams, right?
Yes.
That's how good he is. If Steph was in Indiana, all of a sudden you're in the conversation for an NBA championship.
Yes.
There are a handful of guys in the NBA that are like that. And so the value of those guys is just enormous.
What is going on in terms of all this, like, back and forth fake love affair or legitimate love affair with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook? Like, that's the part I can't wrap my mind around. Regardless of what the future holds, like, you have Darvin Ham out again talking about, like, how much he likes Russ and all. Like, I just don't get the optics of continuing to talk about Russell Westbrook in the public eye if your plan is to go ahead and move on from him, which, by the way, I would I would do everything in my power if I'm the Lakers to move on from him. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Like, even if it's, and Pacers fans don't want to hear this, but even if the rumors are true, they would go target Buddy Hield or somebody else like that if they aren't able to get Kyrie. Like, that's just not working.
That would be fine. That would be fine, honestly. Yeah, you're right. So the point to me is, like, I think, your sense is they're trying to improve their negotiating position. No, we love Russell. We don't mind keeping him. so that people have to value him and up their offer a bit. But that PR does not work in my view. I don't think that anybody really believes that, Jimmy. So as long as everybody in this league has some sense about them, I don't think that any sort of PR campaign like that is effective.
Beau Estes joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at NBA Beau, the voice of NBA.com's Top 10, as well as a frequent contributor for NBA TV, courtesy of the Motor Shop and Fishers Hotline. Beau, it's a big 10 days for NBA Summer League. We know that the Pacers will be on the docket a number of times. Of the prospects we haven't mentioned yet, and of the, team situations we have not mentioned yet, what are you most looking forward to in terms of the way these games play out?
Well, I get, the challenge for me, Jimmy, is I don't get to watch a lot of these games as much as I'd like to. I'm running around like a lunatic, but I am interested in seeing some of these guys. Even there are stories out there you saw Paolo play last night, but a guy like R.J. Hampton coming back and playing again in Summer League. I'm just fascinated by guys that make that decision to try to connect with their younger teammates and to try to improve the skill set that they have. There's a lot of stories like that. There's a guy named Luke Travers from the NBL who's like a modern-day AK-47 Andrei Kirilenko, if people don't get the nickname. Even a story like that. There's so many little stories that sort of you hear about passing people in conversations. So the big first-round draft pick stories, everybody knows about. Everybody's interested in that. Even other stories like Aaron Baines, the big center from Australia who was mysteriously injured at the Olympics, was out for a year. There was a time where it was thought that he may never play basketball again. He's holding some workouts here. Will he get on a roster? Will he show something? There's just a million stories. It's just dreams everywhere you walk and look in this gym. Everybody's got a dream. So, the first round folks are pretty well taken care of. I'm always interested in the stories about the other guys who don't have their dreams taken care of and are hustling and working to make something happen.
Why should NBA fans make it a destination of their summer at least once to come out to Vegas and be a part of Summer League?
Everybody is here. The access is unparalleled. You will be walking down the halls and the atrium of Thomas and Mack Center. There will be former NBA players talking to people, GMs talking to people. You walk to one gym, you've got first-round draft picks playing in there. You walk to the other gym, Cox Pavilion, Jimmy. There are first-round draft picks playing there.
Yep.
It's the access. There's sort of a, I don't want to say casual atmosphere, but everybody's more approachable out here. So you just have the opportunity to talk with people and connect with people on your team, in your organization, in a way that I've never seen before. And I don't know that there's anything that is similar to that. It's a different experience than going to an NBA game because there's more basketball. There's constant basketball. And it's a lot of fun. For me, it is constant work, 16 hours a day for 10, 11 days in a row. And it just goes by in a blur, but you have time to stop and soak it in and see what this event is all about. And it is a wonderful, wonderful event that, is put on by the NBA and put on by Albert Hall and Warren Legary. So I'm excited to be a part of it every year.
Do you book your own flights?
No.
So I ask you this then with a preface of, what was your group letter on Southwest the other day?
Oh, it was C.
I knew it. I knew it because so Beau, for those of you who don't know, you don't follow on Beau at NBA Beau. I'm going to read his tweet. He said, flying Southwest for the first time and just learned about their Stampede style boarding process should be fun. and the rookie move, why I knew you hadn't flown Southwest before, is the night before the flight, assuming you have the app or assuming you have the ability to do this, unless you're paying $25 for early bird, if your flight's at 7 a.m., at 7 a.m. the following morning, you need to press check-in. Because if you don't press check-in, you are allocated the very last spots possible. And if I was to guess, I'm going to say you were probably, unless you got lucky, you were probably repping a little middle seat action on that flight. Am I right?
I'm a tall gentleman, and I was a middle seat. I was C32, so the last of the C's. So here's the thing. I'm totally spoiled we lived in Atlanta, so we've got all these
Delta. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. My wife's platinum status.
Yeah,
I'm gold. So we just get upgrades all the time and sit wherever we want. Everything. I hadn't flown another airline in maybe 10 years, Jimmy. It's been that long. So I was just, and I'm like, it's nothing wrong with all of a sudden getting that like sort of dose of reality in your face because you're spoiled all the time. And boy, it smacked me. It really did. I was like, what? Why am I the last guy getting on board? What's going on? And I said, where's my seat? And you don't have a seat. What are you talking about? So it was different. It was a different experience, bud.
There is nothing, because I've been there to an extent. I've always known about it, but there's nothing more harrowing than realizing, particularly if it's an evening flight, than realizing that at, I don't know, let's say you have a 9 a.m. flight and realizing at 5 o'clock the afternoon before you leave, oh crap, I have not checked in. And you press check in and you know the odds of a middle seat appearing in your life have exponentially grown when all you needed to do was hit that check. And we should have talked, we should have coordinated it because it's very it's like being the last pick on the schoolyard when you wind up being seat 32.
Here's the deal. I live in LA now, so I live in Burbank. And so I was my whole goal was avoid LAX. I don't want to go to LAX for anything. So the Hollywood Burbank Airport is less than 2 miles from my house. It's a tiny little airport, direct flight over to Las Vegas. That aspect was a breeze. But I just, I got slapped in the face. I got beat up a little bit, and that's fine. I don't think I needed it because I was so spoiled on Delta. I just so used to just going on first and sitting up front, and everything's good. And I got a little dose of humility on my way out here.
Hey, you know what? That's
it's good for you.
It builds character, right? I mean, that's the end of the day. It builds character. Well,
but I am going to get a better seat on the way back. I promise.
Oh yeah, no. Once you, regardless, it doesn't matter if you're with Southwest or if you're going back to Delta. Regardless of who you choose, now you gotta hit that check-in button. Make sure you're part of one of those early groups for certain.
Exactly.
Well, my friend, I greatly appreciate you taking time. I know that you're swamped over these next couple of days. I look forward to our paths crossing soon, and I hope that Sports Business Classroom, I guess I'll leave you with that. It's too late in the game now, obviously, but for those that don't know, you are the head of the Sports Business Classroom out there in Las Vegas, a great opportunity for anybody wanting to be involved in a career someday in an NBA front office or in a sports front office in general. Why is that so unique, and what are the advantages if somebody wants to be a part of SBC in the coming years?
Well, I tell you what. So here's the deal: we are right here immersed in Las Vegas Summer League. We walk the halls that everybody else walks, like as far as behind the scenes with the players, the GMs. You're working with GMs. They come in and visit us. We have, Jerry West is coming to speak with our students this year. I run the media and broadcasting department, so you will be calling live NBA games if you're a student with us. You'll be doing play-by-play. You will be doing analysis of live games. So you'll take all that you learned in the classroom and you'll present it in the media. You'll also be hosting studio shows. We have a set right up in the atrium here at Thomas & Mack. So you'll be hosting those shows. You'll be a panelist on those shows. And you'll be learning writing from a guy like Howard Beck, who's had this wonderfully famous career with the New York Times, Bleacher Report, now Sports Illustrated. So you're just learning from the very best in the business. I'm lucky to be a part of it and just thrilled at the opportunity. And every time I get a call from one of our students, hey, I just got a job, it thrills me more than anything that can happen in my career, honestly.
That's the rewarding part of it. That's why you're involved with it. And I know you do a great job out there, and hope that if you're one of our listeners, you go out there and be involved with it as well. Beau and the SBC crew will take good care of you. Beau, always appreciate the time. Enjoy it out there in Las Vegas. And at least you don't have to walk too far since those gyms are connected. You can enjoy the nice AC instead of that dry heat in Vegas.
Oh, man. Cars are melting outside as we speak, Jimmy.
Take care, my friend. Have a good one.
See you, buddy.
That is Beau Estes. You can follow him on Twitter at NBA Beau. Brought to you via the Mower Shop in Fishers hotline. The Mower Shop in Fishers introduces Spartan Mowers, the perfect mower to fit any yard, any size, anytime. Go see Dan's boy Paulie at the Mower Shop in Fishers, or go online at mowershop.com. And as always, you can give him a call, 317-849-9500. Quick break for us when we come back. The head coach of UIndy basketball, the master of the Greyhounds himself, It is Paul Corsaro, head coach of men's basketball. Going to get his thoughts on the program as they get closer and closer to the start of their season and some exciting events going on out there for UIndy, as well as life on the recruiting trail with Coach Corsaro. He'll join us here in just a moment. Jimmy Cook filling in for Dan on the Dan Dakich Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hubler really does have it all. All of our pre-owned vehicles are Hubler Q certified, which include a 128-point vehicle inspection, a free Carfax vehicle history report, and 2 warranties. A 2-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and a 30-day, 1,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Visit any of our 13 locations today, or click drivehubler.com. Hubler has it all.
Hey, it's JMV. Sometimes you're just cruising through life and, well, something happens that's just not your fault. You're in an accident and it causes injuries to both you and your family. And those medical bills can sure add up quickly. That's where Paul Cruz at Paul Ritchie Law Firm can help. Paul is recognized by the Super Lawyers Organization and his peers as one of the top personal injury attorneys in Indiana. Make that free call to see if Paul can help you at 317-269-2509. Visit PARRinjury.com.
Hey, it's Jake Quarry. This Saturday night at the Tom Wood Group Indianapolis Speedrome, powered by Lincoln Tech, it's their annual family fireworks extravaganza, lighting up the sky, the racetrack, and sure to set off most every car alarm in the parking lot. Plus, late models light up the track with a wild and unpredictable 75-lap figure eight, all presented by USA Insulation. The Speedrome is family-friendly racing action, great food, free parking, and outrageous fun. That's fireworks this Saturday at the Speedrome. Location information, ticket prices, and more available at speedrome.com.
I love my hardwood floors, but I wasn't sure how to take care of them. Carrying around a bucket was such a hassle. And even worse, my string mop left streaks and haze behind. Then I found Swiffer Wet Jet Wood, the all-in-one tool made specially for wood floors. Its microfiber-like pad is soft, and it sprays a light mist solution that dries fast. With Swiffer Wet Jet Wood, it's easy to keep up with the mess on my wood floors. Even that mess.
Swiffer Wet Jet Wood, proud member of the National Wood Floor Association.
Listen to The Ride with JMV this week between 3 and 6 p.m. as he'll give away tickets to see the Black Keys at Ruoff Music Center, Saturday, July 16th.
It's the Dan Dakich Show, 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Well, the tradition continues, and a tip of the cap to an alum himself in producer Eddie Garrison, pulling out the fight song for our next guest. Of course, it's not quite coach to coach, but I'll do my best as I welcome in a good friend of mine and the head man of UIndy men's basketball. It is the coach, Paul Corsaro. Paul, how are you doing, sir?
Good, Jimmy. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm doing great. Glad to talk to you. I know it's a very busy time of year for you, so we greatly appreciate you making the time. I understand that you are out on the road, out on the trail. How has that been for you now, if I'm not mistaken, entering season number 3 at the helm?
It's going good. It's nice going year 3, and the first summer where we, haven't had many COVID restrictions with the recruiting aspect, but yeah, definitely I'm down in Atlanta right now. Flew down yesterday morning and covered an event in downtown Atlanta, and today I'm actually up in Cartersville, which is a town about 45 minutes north at a different event. So I just got done with a game, and I stepped out to my car to talk to you, Jimmy. So I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you for making the time. A strong campaign for the Hounds a year ago. Finish 19-11, make a nice run in general in the conference tournament, continuing to build the program up. You've been around the game of basketball your entire life, Paul, so I know this is a unique question, but as you're getting to build your own program, what's this process been like, and where are your expectations for this continued growth and your first-year players upcoming this year?
I think, where we're at right now in terms of, I'm really happy with how we finished our second year. Anytime you can make the school's ever first conference championship, and luckily we've been able to 19 wins is the most the staff has put together in either of the first 2 seasons. So we've done some cool things in terms of started from scratch with just 6 players during a pandemic. So while I'm happy at the direction that we're headed, you're never content. Our goal has always been to compete for conference and national championships, and I think we're edging closer to that, and I'm excited for this year. I like who we return. We have a great nucleus returning, and brought in some nice pieces as well.
Always like to give coaches the opportunity, in particular when you're looking at this year's upcoming class. I know one of the most proud moments you can have in terms of the offseason as a coach is finalize everything, getting everybody set up for a successful season. Any shout-outs you want to give out in regards to your recruits and signees that you have coming up for this class?
Well, yeah, I think, we brought in a couple really talented high school kids, a couple local products, and Sean Tupuola from Brownsburg and AJ Holbart from Center Grove, but brought in a really top-level guy that, weren't sure would be able to get. I thought he was a Division I player for sure out of Toledo. He was a top 5 candidate for Mr. Basketball in the state of Toledo. His name's Sean Craig. He averaged, 29 points and 14 rebounds. He's just a 6'7", versatile guy who can do a lot of things. So I'm excited about, continuing. I always want to recruit guys with multiple years. That's how you build a program, is develop guys over time. But we also signed 2 transfers that are studs. Jarvis Walker from Purdue Fort Wayne. I recruited him to Purdue Fort Wayne when I was an assistant, and I never got a chance to coach him because we signed him and then I took the UIndy job. So now I actually get to coach Jarvis, and I'm excited about that. He's a guard. He can play both guard spots. And then Bruno Williams from Lewis University. He was a all GLVC at Lewis, one of our conference rivals. So we got better, and one of our rivals, lost their best returning player. So it kind of was a win-win in regards to that. And anytime you can bring in a guy that's all league in the league that you're in, and he knows the league, that's definitely going to help us. And I'm excited to see him in a Greyhound uniform and not a Lewis Flyers uniform.
Yeah, anytime you're able to win 2 battles at once, that's always a good feeling. I have no doubt about that. Another opportunity in terms of your day-to-day and setting things up for the season, as well as working with the athletic department, is getting all the regular season and exhibition of things finalized. What have you got on the docket this year with the 2022-2023 campaign in that regard?
We got all 28 regular season games scheduled in, and I'm happy that opening weekend we open at home again on November 11th, which is a Friday versus Ohio Dominican, and then we turn around Sunday and host Lake Erie at home. So our first 2 games are at home. It's a nice even split, balanced schedule, 14 home games, 14 away games. The way we finished last season, playing really well and really hot with the excitement coming into this year, I'm hoping we get a lot of local fan support and people out to games. I think people are going to like the product that they see on the floor. And then, in terms of exhibitions, we're still working through that. We have not gotten any exhibitions yet, but we're getting close. We played Butler and Purdue very tough last year, and as awesome as that is, that sometimes hurts you when you look for exhibition games the next year too, because people are a lot of times looking for layups, if you will, with that. So that said, we're always going to put our best forward and compete, and I'm sure we'll get who we need to get when it's all said and done. But it's a work in progress, and we are working through that.
Is because of that, having that mentality of wanting to compete, but also having good measuring stick games early on in your schedules or in your exhibition play. Is that for you one of the most entertaining parts of the schedule process?
I mean, it is. For me, I think the exhibitions, they're exciting for our players. Because everyone wants to compete against the big boys and at the highest level. They're exciting for the fans, the alumni base, the parents. That's all great. I think it matters who you're playing more to those groups. For me, no matter who we're playing, I don't care who it is we're playing. Like, I'm curious to see where we're at, what we need to improve on in those games. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And you can get that evaluation whether you're playing against a high major team, whether you're playing against a junior college in the IA, D2, D3. You can always evaluate, or an inter squad, you always evaluate where you're at and how you can get better. So that's what I take out of the exhibitions, because I care about the regular season. Now, I'm not going to lie, when it's about time for tip and you're walking out of the tunnel at Mackey Arena and you look up and there's 10,000 people, your blood gets racing a little bit at that time, and that adrenaline rush is awesome. But aside from that adrenaline rush, it's just about basketball and coaching my team and getting us better.
Paul Corsaro joining us, the head coach of UIndy men's basketball. You can follow him on Twitter at Coach Corsaro. Does a wonderful job out there and building up the Hounds. year by year as he goes in his third season. There's a lot of differences in your role from going from a player to a coach, and you know that better than anybody. But in terms of it being your alma mater and being there, having been in the shoes these guys are in right now, how much just game by game and through the offseason and preparing everything do you rely on those experiences and adapt into what you want your program to be about?
Yeah, you definitely use that, because we're all a product of what we've been through before, whether that's as a player or an assistant. And, right now, we're in voluntary summer workouts in July. The cool thing is we have all 15 of our guys on campus. They're, in the weight room with our strength coach. They're getting voluntary workouts on the court, playing some open gyms together. And, to me, my experience has led to, when you plan out, a summer, fortunately, UIndy is a school where, we have the means where we can pay for summer school and housing and meals and kind of treat it like a Division I and get our guys on campus in the summer. And the cool thing about that is I know from my past experiences that chemistry is so key. And this summer is all about just getting our guys around each other and building chemistry. And when you talk about big picture planning for the year and, what we're going to do in the fall and all that, when I got down to Atlanta to recruit yesterday, I had a little downtime. My flight landed around 7:30, 7:45. My first game wasn't until noon. So I had a little down. It was 11. I'm sorry, but I had a little downtime at the hotel before that. So I actually spent the morning yesterday kind of planning out the first 6 weeks of the fall in terms of practices, weights, film, study hall, everything. And, that's based and predicated off, my previous 2 years as a head coach and thinking about, okay, even back to when I was an assistant, when we were really, really good at UIndy, what were we doing at this time of year? So, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think a lot of times people don't understand the day-to-day planning because, winning is so hard. It's so hard. But everything you do on a daily basis, leads up to that and gives you a chance to win. And, that's kind of the stuff you think about as you plan stuff out.
What kind of turnover and changes are you looking at for your staff for this year?
It's cool. We have some promotions. We have a little turnover. Promoted my top assistant, Mike Burris, from assistant coach to associate head coach, which is well-deserved. He's been a true extension of me since he got here with me. I love Mike, and he's so loyal, and he's great to our kids. And, if something would ever happen to me, he'd be able to step in right away and do a great job. And, I'm really excited for, well-deserved recognition for him. Roosevelt Jones, and, he's well-known in the Indy area, did a good job for us for 2 years as an assistant. He had an opportunity to join David Ragland's new staff down at University of Evansville as the director of operations. And, good resume builder for Rose. And, in the coaching industry, the more guys you get to learn from and different levels you coach at, that's a good thing. And it was the right move for him at this time in his career. And, while we're definitely sad to see Roosevelt leave, the guy we brought in, Deontay Ferguson, we're really juiced about. I think he'll come right in, and we'll just keep things rolling with a great staff. Deontay played at South Alabama for Matthew Graves, another name Indianapolis people are familiar with from his time at Butler, who's the head coach of South Alabama. Deontay played there, played overseas for 3 years, was a GA at Morehead State, was a D2 assistant at Tusculum. So he checks a lot of boxes, has a lot of good experiences, and most importantly, he's just a great person. And then Reese McGinsey, local product, another Roncalli boy that you and I can be proud of. Played basketball at Trine University, Division III school, up on the northeast side of the state. And he'll be joining us as a graduate assistant. So it's exciting times. We're moving and shaking, but we're just keeping things, heading full steams ahead.
Coach Corsaro joining us, head men's basketball coach at UIndy. One of the biggest, stress factors if you're a high school player and you have a passion for the game, you've been in that shoes as well as anybody, Paul, is wanting to play at the next level, wanting to advance your game further. UIndy, like a lot of programs, setting up an opportunity for players to be able to evaluate themselves, to get better, to grow and get closer to playing at the next level with your elite camp coming up here next month. What makes the camp itself unique? What are you most passionate about with it? And how can young prospects, high school prospects, get involved if they want to be involved in that camp?
Yeah, I'm happy you bring it up, Jimmy. I appreciate that because I think we offer, and bias, one of the more unique elite camps out there. A lot of schools run, an elite camp just for them, where they invite 100 prospects and just their staff, and maybe they take a kid out of it, maybe they don't, all that kind of stuff. My philosophy is I want all kids to have an opportunity to be seen and get the opportunities they want. Because I had such a great experience playing college basketball and playing, college athletics that if I didn't do that, who knows what I'd be doing today. And, I think every kid deserves a chance. So our elite camp format's a little different. We have 7 sessions. We have 1 on Friday night, August 12th, and we have 3 on August 14th or August 13th that Saturday, then 3 on August 14th that Sunday. So 7 sessions, 2.5 to 3 hours apiece, and we'll invite about 60 kids to each. So you're looking at about 400 to 420 kids is the amount we have spots for. So we still have open spots. So I encourage all prospects entering grades 9 through 12 to do it, because it's not just for UIndy. We're going to have about 30 other college programs there, about 3 or 4 other scouting services there. We'll have junior colleges. We'll have NAIA programs. We'll have Division III programs. We'll have other Division II programs and a lot of scouting services. So it's an opportunity for kids from all ages, 9 through 12, to be seen by multiple platforms in college basketball. And I think that that's an incredible opportunity, because I want every person to walk out of there and say, man, I got my money's worth. It's only $75, not much money at all. And you're going to get a chance to compete against top-level competition and see where your game stacks up and see what you need to do to get to be at your best come high school season. But then, like I said, you're going to have an opportunity to be seen by 30 schools, 3 to 4 scouting services. Everyone has a chance to enhance their recruitment. I think that's what's really cool about it.
Well, I think that's awesome that you guys there at UIndy and yourself with the initiative to help the next generation of players continue to advance their game and grow within the game of basketball. Before I let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't give you a shout out here. We're approaching 3 weeks there, big dog, before the big wedding day for you. Congratulations ahead of time. Any nerves? Any? I mean, you're the coach, so it's a different aspect of nerves. But how you feeling leading up to the big day?
Oh, we're pumped. 3 weeks from tomorrow is the big day. Luckiest man in the world. Brooke is probably back in Fort Wayne right now with her parents. She went back to see them while I'm on the road. She said she was going to be listening. We'll know when we get off the phone, because she'll give me a hard time for embarrassing her online or on air. But really pumped about the wedding, and can't wait. Definitely can't wait.
Well, I'm very happy for you, Paul, and I wish you all the best. You know that, and I wish you continued success and big things for UIndy moving forward.
You as well, Jimmy. I appreciate you having me on, and always good talking to you.
No problem. Thanks, Coach. That is the coach, Paul Corsaro of UIndy men's basketball, taking some time with us here on a Friday while on the recruiting trail. Always appreciate that. Wish the best to the Hounds next season. Final break, and then we got some bets for you to close out a big week here on the Dan Dakich Show. Jimmy Cook in for the coach, Dan Dakich, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband. He lost weight. More important, cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend went, and she lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months. So does Mark Patrick hypnosis work? Oh yeah, it works. Nothing has changed my life more. Well, except maybe my husband. He's so proud of me. Makes me cry.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed for only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings. July 28th at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Fishers. Weight loss seminar 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 to 10 p.m. And Saturday, July 30th at the La Quinta Inn and Suites South in Indianapolis. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 to 4 p.m. Registration begins 30 minutes before seminar.
Here's what's happening with The Fan.
Remember to follow The Fan on all your favorite social media platforms and stay up to date on all things sports. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit the links at Dan Dakich Annual Tom Dakich Memorial Golf Outing, presented by Franciscan Health on July 18th. Gather your foursome and register your team today. Proceeds benefit the Franciscan Health Moving Beyond Cancer Survivorship Program.
For more info, click on 1075thefan.com.
You need a lawn care pro and a pest control pro. You can have both in one guy. You. DoMyOwn.com will help you get there with pro products, pro knowledge, and pro support. DoMyOwn.com for the pro in you.
Yankees, Red Sox, Sunday Night Baseball. The coverage begins at 6 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
take your time.
It's the Dan Dakich Show. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Tip of the cap to Eddie Garrison once again. Good way to close the week. A little bit of Ted Lasso love. Can't wait till that gets started back up.
I'm so excited.
I believe that's late this year is what I've heard is the goals of that. Production got started a little bit late, but I believe season 3 of AFC Richmond is going to get rolling for Apple TV subscribers upcoming here in a couple of months towards the back end of the year. A reminder, while we have a second, be a part of the Tom Dakich Memorial Golf Outing. You can still sign up. There are still some spots remaining. Hit the links at Dan Dakich's annual Tom Dakich Memorial Golf Outing presented by Franciscan Health. That's on July 18th. Few foursomes still available. Grab yours while you can. Register your team today, 1075thefan.com. Remember, all those proceeds benefit the Franciscan Health's Moving Beyond Cancer Survivorship Program. Great event that Dan does. Dan will be out there. Be a fun time. Go see Double D and help raise money for a great cause while we're at it. Think we got some bets to get to. Eddie, do you want to do the honors?
I shall. Jimmy, what you got, man?
The JCook Plays of the Day.
This is me, all right? I'm not a athlete. This is my way. This is how I win.
Thank you, Edward Garrison extraordinaire. Plays of the day here on a Friday. A lot of baseball once again, and I'm putting my chips back in where they were yesterday, albeit not the results we wanted. Similar bets all across the board, only a couple changes here and there. Taking the Chicago White Sox laying 1.5 today. That's at plus 120 in terms of juice on the run line. Chicago White Sox laying 1.5 as they host the Detroit Tigers. Also going to take the New York Yankees to one of the money line in Boston against the Red Sox. Closing things out, laying 1.5 on the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Chicago Cubs. 1-2 yesterday, 3-3 on the week, 273, 225, and 4 on the year. Of course, those plays are on Twitter at the JCook. This has been a great Friday with you. I guess I will tease this ahead of time for those of you that follow me on Twitter at the JCook. I will still be on your airways a little bit this weekend. Tomorrow, I will be hosting Network Indiana's Indiana Sports Talk. IST, the legendary history-making Network Indiana Sports Talk, as the coach, the Hall of Famer himself, the great Bob Lovell, continues his summer vacation, so we'll be filling in there. Might potentially make an appearance later this evening. Derek Schultz is hosting that on IST this evening, so I might make a little guest spot there. Friday for me, though, I don't know about the rest. You know about the YouTube chat. I'll be checking Summer League, of course, following those bets, but I'm going to see Thor Love and Thunder tonight with some family, and I'm very, very excited about that continuing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Go see that if you're looking for something to do on your weekends. Take your kids if they're big Marvel fans. I guess I'll be PC about that, and you double check the rating if you're worried about that kind of thing. I don't know. But still fun for the whole family if you are intrigued by all the superheroes galore of the rotating wheel of the MCU. That'll be my weekend in terms of setup for that. Next in for the coach, believe that'll be for Dan's golf outing while everybody's enjoying time with Double D on the 18th. I'll be back here in the big chair about 10 days from now, a week from Monday. Eddie Garrison will be back behind the 1s and 2s. We'll be looking at post-Summer League World. Training camp will be on our doorstep. It'll be a fun Monday for you. Hopefully you're listening along, whether you're out at Dan's golf outing, as you should be, or you are just enjoying a Monday in the Circle City. Eddie, any bets, any action, anything in the sports weekend or the weekend in general that you are most looking forward to this weekend?
Well, Jimmy, I will be working with you again on Saturday night. I'll be doing updates on Indiana Sports Talk as well as tonight with Derek Schultz. For betting purposes, though, if you are invested at all in this Reds game later this afternoon, it's arguably the best pitching matchup on the schedule. You have Shane McClanahan for the Tampa Bay Rays. They're in Cincinnati against the Reds, who will have Luis Castillo, who I think, Jimmy, will be a former Yankee at some point because, the Yankees need pitching, the Reds need prospects, and the two shall meet eventually. especially with the Reds tanking. I will say this, it does not look well in terms of forecast for that game. So if you are betting that game, don't get your hopes up on winning some cash tonight, because I think that game will get postponed. And if you do, I would look into Shane McClanahan's strikeout prop. I don't know what it's at, and whatever it is at, I will take the over, because the Reds have struggled lately in terms of not striking out, and McClanahan is one of the best, if not, I can't remember if he's at the top now, or still, I should say, at striking out players, but I would take the over there, because the Reds notoriously struggled throughout the course of the season against left-handed pitching. It's at 7.5. I would take the over. That's just me personally, but if they do end up playing, that would be the route I would go in that game.
Is DeAndre Ayton a Phoenix Sun by Monday?
Is he technically a Phoenix Sun right now?
Okay, I'll rephrase then. Is DeAndre Ayton an Indiana Pacer by Monday?
I'll say no.
No.
I'll say no.
Does that mean he is off the roster in terms of a chance of popping up in Indiana? Like you're saying definitively he's not going to be a Pacer, or you're saying just by Monday you don't think it gets done?
I don't think it's done by Monday, because, Phoenix is in an odd situation where if they don't re-sign Ayton and they let him walk, then their chances of getting Kevin Durant have just gone out the door.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating, debate that you get into. Oh, do the Pacers need him over Myles Turner? I don't know.
But what does it mean? What would that signing be?
It took you 2 hours and 55 minutes to get into the Windhurst.
If you haven't looked that up, if you haven't seen the Brian Windhurst just chess masterclass from First Take, go look up that viral video. It is a good one. Yeah, I'm kind of with Eddie. You got to let things play out, but you know what? No, I think it's going to happen. I'm leaning towards it. I think they make the offer. I think it's signed. I don't know if the Suns are going to match or not, but I think just to make the chess move, once everything gets finalized and squared away from a cap perspective, I think they get all that done. Again, a reminder, Summer League is from yesterday until the 17th. It's 10 days of thrilling action. Be a part of that as well. And then we're just around the corner from training camp for the Indianapolis Colts. Like I mentioned, I think the expectations for the Colts needs to be winning the South, in turn hosting that home playoff game, hopefully getting a win in the first round. I think Matt Ryan sets you up at high levels to be able to do that and achieve that. In terms of the Pacers, it's continuing to lead this team along and continuing to set yourself up for future success in the coming drafts, and hopefully in 2 to 3 years, you're back into a high-level top 4, top 5 seed in this conference. Special thanks to Jason Hammer, Tom Noie, Tony East, Beau Estes, and the coach Paul Corsaro, as well as Eddie Garrison for being behind the ones and twos today. The coach Dan Dakich will be back in on Monday. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at the JCook all weekend long, back on IST on Saturday. Enjoy Summer League. I'm going to go see Thor. Have a great time. John is next. He's got you covered 3 till 6. Ride with JMB. Up next, Jimmy Cook has been in on the Dan Dakich Show. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMB.
Hello there.